The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education program has been recognizing students and teachers who shine both in and out of the classroom since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com and click on Supporting Education. Students in kindergarten through 12th grade are eligible to be academic all-stars. K through 12 teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible to be honored as the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education, where stars shine.
This is it. Your big break. Your one shot. Your only chance. There are two outcomes. Make history or be history.
The home of high school sports. Spectrum Sports. Exclusively on Spectrum.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. A long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Now he shoots it!
What you live for lives here. We are Spectrum Sports, exclusively on Spectrum.
What's up, guys? It's John. I'm here with Grant. We're at the Mayfield football game versus Riverside tonight. You know, about 12 minutes left. Rain's starting to come down, getting kind of nervous. It's senior night tonight, so right now all the seniors getting escorted onto the field. That's exciting. This game tonight's pretty big for Mayfield. If we win, we have a chance of making the playoffs. So we're really hoping that we can do well. Expecting some big things out of the offense and defense. Pull out the dub tonight. Grant, got any words?
Go Cats.
Yeah, go Cats. All right.
Go Cats.
Go Cats. Was he wearing a bull head?
It looked like a buffalo type of thing.
Are they the Wild? I was so confused during the whole hit.
It's probably a theme for the night. I don't know. It's probably a theme.
I want more. I was entertained.
Yeah. Sources tell me that you might have gone to college and played ball with that kid's uncle, right?
Jim. Yeah, heck of a catcher. Academic All-American catcher at John Carroll, as a matter of fact.
How about that?
Yeah.
Now a doctor. So.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a lot of them on our baseball team back in the day. So, but yes, Jim was a very good catcher. I think at one point in time actually held the John Carroll home run record as well. So. Fun facts.
Yeah, how about that?
But you know, he did bring up a very good point. John did. That's kind of the back half, those 7, 8, 9 spots up for grabs. Mayfield trying to claim one, and. A win over Riverside goes a long way, and then they need some help. But all of the teams on the back half of that need some help, and that's one of the things that's going to be interesting. You're looking for a team that's 4-5 or 5-4 to win, to give you the points that you need to get into the playoffs.
It's a good lesson though for Mayfield. You start out 2-3, and you have back-to-back losses against Brush and Chardon, and maybe you're looking at it like, oh, geez, how are we going to get into the playoffs now? Are you kidding me? Our season's probably over. We don't have a lot to play for. They kept grinding. They beat Kenston. They beat Madison. Last week they beat South, and now here they are with a chance. Now, they're 5-4 on the season. They would have to get to 6-4, but you know, that would be good enough in that division and in that region because they continued to fight through that adversity and those losses.
Well, and you mentioned that's the same scenario for East Lake North. That's a team that if they can find a way to beat Chardon tonight, will be in the playoffs for the first time in school history. And things didn't go well for them. They've won 4 games in a row, including a win over Brush, who currently sits in 4th spot in that region and is guaranteed of being in the playoffs.
Yeah, and just a short note, I was actually looking at this. One of the teams that's ahead of them is Garfield Heights at 4-5 right now. It's kind of incredible to think that somebody with a losing record is ahead of you in the playoff race right now. But obviously Mayfield just has to take care of business and kind of cheer on some of these teams to see if they can get a spot in that region with the defending two-time defending state champion Archbishop Hoban.
Now Garfield Heights finished their season yesterday. They beat I think it was Normandy that they beat. So. They're kind of in the clubhouse waiting to see if it can stand up, and there's going to be a lot of teams taking a run at them. And the Wadsworth Grizzly, hop on board because they're looking pretty darn good, trying to potentially lock in the top spot in their region. Boffman, all kinds of time, a lot of athleticism. And he's going to throw it into the end zone. Touchdown, Blackburn. Wadsworth looking strong and really kind of throwing a damper on senior day over at Hudson as they are well on their way to going a perfect 10-0 in just the second season for Coach Todd. 21-0. Wadsworth up on Hudson.
Well, I guess I'm moving ahead and driving the wagon, huh?
And look, for Wadsworth, they've lost to Hudson 2 years in a row. So this isn't some small feat for them as they're building this program.
But they're legit.
Oh, yeah.
And
all those questions that you had a few weeks ago, I think they've answered them.
Yeah. No, they're pretty good.
Yeah.
Newsflash.
Yeah, and talk about being hot. I mean, right now they are hot right now, and they've peaked at the great time right now. So that region is going to be very attractive to watch during these playoffs here. So, but I'll jump back on and get the horses here.
And once you get to the playoffs, when you have a quarterback like that, you've got a running back like that, you've got a defense like that, some of the resume stuff you can kind of throw out the window. You know what I mean? Like if somebody wants to poke a hole and say, well, aside from Stow, the only other above 500 team that you've beaten to this point is North Royalton, and then maybe tonight if they hang on, it'll be Hudson. That stuff goes out the window, and you all start over fresh, and they just have the formula and the components to make a deep run in Division II.
And I think looking back at their schedule, if I recall, I'll have to go back and look and see which week it was, but when they played Twinsburg, they kind of got off to a slow start. So I was just kind of curious just about, what was the difference in that game for Wadsworth as opposed to other games that they played. But even still, they won that game. They're 9-0 right now. But just I think that the coaching staff and I think the players are starting to see, what are their strengths and weaknesses. And so far as you can see, it's showing up in the win column that they're making those corrections.
Well, and the other thing about Wadsworth, they've got a wrestler as their quarterback and obviously their leader. They call him Joey Football. That's a mentally tough kid that's used to being on the biggest stage with nobody to help him. That's the kind of guy you want leading you in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, look at what he's doing tonight against 7-2 Hudson. He's accounted for all 3 of their touchdowns to this point. So when you have a guy like that, you're feeling, even if you're a defense and you give up a little bit, you say, you know what, Joey Football is going to go up and he's going to make up for it. So having that kind of guy is such a mental advantage going into the postseason. That's
a huge bump for that team. Another team that's trying to go undefeated in the Suburban League, the Barberton Magics, and they're well on their way. A 7-0 lead on the Highland Hornets. And the Barberton offense, Zane Reese, 3-year starter, little stop and go. Turnbow grabs it, Garrett Turnbow, the touchdown from Zane Reese. Those two have hooked up a couple of times. So Barberton now a 14-0 lead.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I mean, Barberton just scored another touchdown off a punt return by Keith Thompson, who's committed to Ohio University. Yeah. So, I mean, this Barberton team right now, I mean, how can they not, where can't they score from right now? I think is the next question. But Barberton is, again, in a good situation right now to wrap up the American Division, but also for the playoffs, too. I mean, considering last year they had just got in and lost that first game to Aurora. But, man, I mean, just what a year of difference makes for them.
Well, and, I had a chance to visit with them, and Coach Gatto his message was, guys, every game is important because as you get into the playoffs, you want to make sure that you have as easy a path as possible. You don't want to have to play somebody on the road in the first round. You want to be up as high as you can so you get one of the lower seeds that has to come into your place. And, there's a lot to be said to being used to winning. And when you're 10-0, you got a lot of confidence. Even in tight spots, we're going to find a way to get what we need because we have all year long.
And probably around halftime, I can't wait to hear from Ryan Isley because just while you were talking, Barberton just picked off a pass. So, I mean, this team is, you know, again, this is another one of those hot teams right now that we're going to be hearing about week 11.
The most any team has scored against Barberton's defense so far this year, 20. That's it. I mean, think about that. And you've got an offense that's averaging 43 points per game, and they've got the triplets. They've got Reese, they've got Keith Thompson, and they've got Garrett Turnbull. So that's another team that has that formula to make a deep run in the postseason.
Well, you mentioned Avon, top-ranked team in the state in Division II, and they're starting to put it on the Berea-Midpark Titans. Ryan Malloy, little zone read. That's easy.
Wow.
Hops into the end zone for the touchdown. He normally throws. He's running. And the Eagles' offense kind of flying high as they already have put 34 on the board. 34-7. They
somebody
lead
wants to win that title this year.
Yeah. Collision course, Avon and Wadsworth, top two seeds.
Exactly. I mean, they're great teams to watch, but obviously what's probably going to be the big storyline is Malloy versus Baldwin in this one. So, you know, Region 5? Region 6?
Yeah,
Region 6 is going to be something else to watch. So.
Yeah, and you know, Division 2 is very interesting because Division 2 Region 5 is the one with Hoban and Barberton. So those are the two. And then Region 6 has Wadsworth and Avon. And between them, those are 4 of the top 5 teams in the state in the AP rankings this week. So.
And how good is Avon and how good is Mike Elder's program? He even called at the beginning of the year Vlasi Papas his best overall player, the team's best overall player. He was lost in week 2, and here they are searching for another undefeated season. Here they are, people calling them the favorite in all of Division 2. So that tells you the kind of program they have, that tells you the kind of depth they have, that tells you the kind of coaching they have, and that tells you the kind of quarterback that Ryan Malloy is.
Yeah, Mike Elder can coach a little. Just a little bit. So, well on their way to their 10-0 season. They started in Florida, too, and beat a pretty good Florida team in Merritt Island, where they came from behind, scored with a couple of seconds left to win it. So that kind of starts your season on the, boy, we can win anywhere, anytime against anyone, and they've continued it. That's what you expect.
And just to skip ahead and try to make some projections here, if Avon were to get out of their region, you know, I think one of the teams that they may have to look at is Cincinnati LaSalle. You know,
or Hoban first.
Or Hoban. You know, so I mean, just
Hoban's sitting there like, come on, guys, stop forgetting about us.
You know, just depending on, you know, because we probably won't know till about, I think, the region semis when we'll know where everyone is going to be, you know, which regions are going to be playing where.
They'll put Hoban and Avon together just to try to separate a northern team to a southern team. And then on the back half of that, you're looking at LaSalle, Winton Woods. So Division 2 is pretty loaded at the Northeast Ohio and the Cincinnati region.
Yeah, and as much as we talked about Division 1, Division 2, absolutely. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's going to sell some tickets. So, but boy, I mean, the quarterbacks in this region, some great ones to watch. So,
it'll be fun to kind of track that along as we go. The other thing, how about Glenville? You know, they schedule. You know, we talked about them before the break, but they schedule, you know, Euclid, St. Ed's, and Mentor. And if they had won any of those games, they get a home game. They lose a quarterback, they lose a second quarterback, and they run the table. It's been about 20 years since they've lost a Senate game. And so they go 7-0 in the Senate, back in the playoffs. Now the question is, do they have to go to Toledo or do they have to go to Parma?
Boy, I'll pick up on the number 1 Toledo Central Catholic. I got a chance to watch Toledo Central Catholic in the first round when they played Bay last year, and they just really put it on the Rockets in that game. And so I feel like if that's the same team that we're going to see, there's some players that are going to be Mr. Football from last year. Michael Warren is gone. He's I believe at Cincinnati now.
He's playing too.
Absolutely. So, you know, if they're facing that type of a quality team, Glenville's going to have their hands full. But also, I mean, TCC is also going to be like, you know, hey, who's this Glenville team as well? So, you know, definitely that's going to be an interesting matchup. As for the Bruins, you know, I'm curious. That one I'm really conflicted on that one because I feel like each team has something to balance out the other.
Well, we've been talking about the Glenville Tarblooders. Ted Ginn joins us on the phone. Coach Ginn, appreciate the time. Congratulations, back in the playoffs. you got to be pretty pleased at the way your guys responded.
Oh, yeah, I'm pretty pleased with that. You know, we had to control our own destiny, so we did that today.
Ted, talk a little bit about Trayvon Fullerton. It's one of the guys I've said, not a really big guy, but boy, every time he touches the ball, it's kind of like, this is exciting to watch.
Yeah, well, you know, he's a little spark plug, but he's very exciting to watch him, and he's stronger than he's seen, you know, but he's lightning fast, and you know, he just God didn't bless him with a lot of height, but he's one of the toughest kids on the team.
Ted, when you schedule teams like Euclid, St. Ed's, and Menor at the beginning of the season, number one, what are you hoping for out of those games? And two, how do you think having that experience against those kinds of teams will serve you when you get to the postseason next week?
Well, you know, I schedule those games because, you know, I expect to win them and grow. You know, you only get better when you play the best. You know? And, I try to do that with the kids. And it kind of prepares you for the rest of the season. If you can knock one or two of those guys off, then you got a good shot to, you know, develop into a great team. You know, so I'm always do that. I'm going to schedule some the big boys to see where we at.
Coach, this is Nate. Two questions for you. One, what was the pregame meal for tonight? And then two, is talking about growth about this team. You know, where do you feel like the team is right now in terms of that?
Well, with the pregame meal, come on now, a chicken can't stay alive around here. You know, a chicken is born to die. So you know, so we had chicken and fried chicken. You know, so that was the pregame meal, and you know, I think if we continue to stay focused and stay fundamentally sound, you know, we can go far in the playoffs.
Ted, if it is in fact Toledo Central Catholic that you play, how much do your guys kind of look back and say, we've been on the field with Euclid, we've been on the field with St. Ed's, we've been on the field with Menor. It's not any different than that. We just have to be a little bit better than we were at the beginning of the year.
No doubt. We'll play some of the big teams, you know, so it won't be nothing new to run into Central Catholic, because they real good, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's just that hope that we can, you know, stay fundamentally sound and don't make mistakes and execute at the highest level. You know, when you play in the playoffs, that's what you have to do, you know, and I think we can play with anybody if we can just do that, you know. You know, football is football. You can't really determine football. You know, just like today, you know, that was a good team. They was well coached, but you always be concerned over yourself. You know what I'm saying? What you gonna do when you get on the field? So it don't really matter. You know, who you're playing is what you do while you're playing. You know what I'm saying?
Xander Spikes being back healthy, what does that mean for your team going into the postseason?
Well, you know, Xander has gotten better every week, you know, and he's been pretty good the last few weeks, so that's huge for us, you know. Just a young quarterback trying to get better during the season, and, you know, he's accomplishing a little bit more than he had before, you know.
Ted, what was your message to the team after the game, just after they came out and performed the way they did? What'd you tell your guys?
You know, I always break my season down in 3 seasons. You got the first 3 games that we play. That's season 1. Then you come into the Senate. That's season 2. Now we're getting ready to go into the 3rd season, which is the playoffs. You know, so you know you have a great year in season 2. You know what I'm saying? So we finishing that off. So we got to focus in on season 3, which is the playoff. And you enjoy this for a moment, and then the season 3 starting Monday when you're on time to school, on time to practice, and then you move on from there. So that's basically what I talked about. You know, is just trying to keep the wheels turning the right way. You know.
Could you sense the excitement from your kids that they knew, in fact, you know, we're going to be part of the Division III playoffs?
Yeah, they're excited, but it's hard today with the youth today. We so used to looking for that feedback. It's very hard today with children today. And I'm used to getting that type of feeling. But they don't give you that juice like that no more, And I'm just keeping it real,
Yeah.
You want them to do that, but they're so talented and the world is such in a different way now, so you got to spend a lot of time trying to draw that juice out of them, you know what I'm saying? But they listening, but you just don't know they listening, So,
Coach Ginn, we appreciate the time with us. Good luck in Week 11. Congratulations.
All right, yeah, thank you, man.
Have a good one. Ted Ginn, obviously happy, and his guys responded, and it's a very valid point that he makes. If they go out and play the way they're capable of playing, they can beat anybody. But they've got that kind of talent.
But, boy, they got to make sure that they don't commit those turnovers and see those flags hit the field. I mean, that's the one thing that'll keep a team from trying to win a game. And so I feel like if they were able to clean that up come Week 11 when they have to play, whether it's the Padua or Toledo Central Catholic, then they should have a shot at this. But also, he's got to be excited. 200 wins this year, what better way and try to make the playoffs this year and try to go far?
Well, the other thing about it is the team that Toledo Central Catholic has struggled with pretty significantly, and it might have even lost to them, is Whitmer. And that's a team that's very similar to Glenville.
Same style of offense.
They're going to have playmakers all over the field,
right,
and they're going to have a lot of speed. And that's, this is not a typical 7-8
that's
seed
exactly right.
if you're Toledo Central Catholic. And if you think that's the first round of the playoffs, and I don't think they'll think that just because of the history that Glenville has.
No, they can't think like that, and you're right. This is not the team that you're used to seeing in the first round of the playoffs because of the size, speed, athleticism combination. In Division III, you'll put Glenville up there with anybody.
Yep.
It doesn't matter. And Glenville's also used to winning. So that's the other thing. This isn't just a team that's going to be happy to be in the postseason. They're used to being in the postseason. They're looking to try and take that next step. Once you get into the postseason, win in Week 11, then see if you can win in Week 12. But this isn't just going to be some team that's going down for a fun trip because they're in the playoffs to face mighty Toledo Central Catholic, if that's the case.
Oh, and to one of your points, you're talking about Glenville and winning. I think one thing to make sure is that if they get themselves down early in a hole, that they don't hang their heads too high. Because, they've got playmakers. They can try to get themselves out of a hole. But it's just that with teams such as Padua and Toledo Central Catholic, they can put up a lot of points. But the key for Glenville is trying to make sure that they don't, get themselves, hang themselves too low there.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point because when you're talking about Senate play, they've dominated Senate play for so many years, and they did it again this year. The step up in competition from Senate to the first round of the playoffs, sometimes that takes you a little bit of time to actually get used to that.
Although that's another reason why he schedules those 3 brutal games at the front end of that.
Yep.
They know what, and he'll remind them, we need to clean things up. Well, we're going to go to the phones. Ryan Isley is at that Barberton Highland game, and he joins us on the phone. Ryan, how about those Magics?
Guys, I'll tell you what, I talked to head coach Anthony Gatto right before this game started, and I said, hey, coach, how your guys feeling tonight? He said they're feeling loose, they feel good, everybody's healthy. They were trying for the first 10-0 start in school history, and with just about a minute to go before the half, they lead 28-0 over Highland.
And that's a pretty good Highland team that they are, at least on the scoreboard, taking apart right now.
Yeah, it's not just on the scoreboard, fellas. It is on the field as well. I will tell you what, it was, we talk about the guys on this team, the big names, the Key Thompsons, the Zane Reeses, the Garrett Turnbows, the Jeff Parkers. Well, guess what? All 4 of them have made a huge contribution tonight. Key Thompson with a punt return touchdown. Reese hit Turnbow for a touchdown. Parker has 2 rushing touchdowns. And then I don't know if you guys have seen it yet or not, but Key Thompson kept it on a fake punt and rumbled down to the 10, which set up Jeff Parker's second touchdown run of the night, which once you guys see that highlight, you might be showing it again towards the end of the night with those top 15 plays.
Hey, Ryan, now this is Nate. Aurora, their only loss this year was at home in a 1-point loss to Aurora. Would you kind of describe, what's the atmosphere like right now? I'm sure it's pretty quiet out there in Highland.
Yes, it has gotten very quiet. It was very raucous early. It was loud. The fans were completely into it, even through the rain. I mean, the rain started right before the game and has come and gone throughout the game. And I think once Key Thompson took that punt return back to make it 21-0, the atmosphere in this place just went completely. It left. There's no energy left. Not only in the stands, guys, but I just noticed on this last offensive possession for Highland, as the receivers were coming out to take their positions, they weren't running out to take their wide spots. They were walking heads down, and I looked at them and I immediately thought, these guys think this game's over. So I think Barberton has kind of just come in here, and they have beaten Highland up all night, and they've kind of taken Highland's spirit from them.
Ryan, what has impressed you the most about Barberton's defense? I mean, Jake Rogers is a kid for Highland that had 500 total yards and 5 touchdowns just a couple of weeks ago. And to look up and see Highland, an explosive offense, having 0 at this point is a little bit surprising.
The Barberton defense has done what they've done every time I've seen them, and that is they get into the backfield and they get to the quarterback or they get to the running back. They don't allow a lot of explosive plays, and they've done that again tonight. They've given up a couple of plays, but nothing to where you thought that Highland was going to have a chance to come down and score. And the only time Highland did get a drive started, then you get an interception by the Barberton defense. The Barberton defense, as they've done all year, they swarm to the football, and they don't miss tackles. If they square you up, you're going to hit the ground. And that has been the MO of this defense all season, and they've kept up with it tonight.
Hey, Ryan, Coach Gatto had talked about being physically tough up front, both sides of the line. Really, that's been his message from the preseason. Have you seen that with this team? That's one of the things he wanted to see.
Very much so, and it has been both sides. It's been offense and defense, and it's not just the lines, guys. It is. I think that mentality permeates. Once the offensive line starts showing how physical they're going to be, then the running backs do it. Jeff Parker, like I said, this last touchdown run that he should have been stopped for a 3-yard gain, and he carried guys to the end zone. He just wasn't giving up, and they couldn't get him down. They're just stronger, they're faster, and they just seem to want this game more tonight.
And we're looking at that touchdown run right there, Ryan. So it looked like a rugby scrum. He just kind of moved everybody that was near him into the end zone with him.
Well, and I learned my lesson a couple of weeks ago at Talmadge. Jeff scored on a touchdown in that game where he got stuck at the line, and I kind of stopped filming because I thought he was down. And all of a sudden he spins out and he's in the end zone, and I'm sitting there going, wait, what the heck just happened? What did I miss? So tonight I was like, I am not going to stop this recording until I know this guy is on the ground and the official has the football in his hands. And lo and behold, he just, like you said, it looked like a rugby scrum. He just took guys with him to the end zone, and he wasn't going to stop until he had 6 points on the board.
Ryan, the other thing is Jeff Parker being able to do that allows them to save Key Thompson, who is a pretty good middle linebacker. So, he plays some offense, but his Division I scholarship to Ohio University is because he's a really good linebacker.
Well, and you know what else it allows them to do? Not just allows him to focus on defense and keep him fresh on defense, but it allows them that if they want to put him on offense, they can put him in the slot or they can put him out wide, and he can go and run patterns and catch passes. He doesn't have to run the football out of the backfield, and he's become dangerous getting into the middle of the zone. If the defense is playing in the zone, he'll just go and sit 10 yards out right in the middle of it, and Zane Reese has a knack for finding him on those plays. And as you've seen time and time again this year, if Key Thompson gets his hands on the football, anything can happen.
Hey, Ryan, you've seen Barberton quite a bit this season. Answer this question for me. If you're picking against Barberton, against a team, what's something that would be the reason why? Or if there's nothing at all and they just do everything really well?
Guys, I'll tell you what, I don't see them. I don't think I could pick against them until, honestly, if we would see a regional final between them and Archbishop Hogan. Mm-hmm. I think that's the matchup and I've been wanting to see that matchup for about 5 or 6 weeks now. And they don't really seem to have any weaknesses. But I think it's going to be one of those things that if they do lose, it's going to be because another team can play offense and play defense as well as they can. It's not going to be because they exploit Barberton's weaknesses. It's just going to be because the other team plays better that night and has as much talent, if not more. Because this Barberton team doesn't seem to have a lot of holes.
Ryan, we appreciate the update. We will check back in with Ryan Isley as Barberton in control of that game. Let's head back to the phones. Mike Peticca is at CVCA taking on Manchester, and he joins us on the phone. Mike, some history, OHSAA history potentially going to happen there tonight.
Yeah, Jim France going for what would be his 382nd coaching win, would make him Ohio's all-time leader. And Manchester leads Cuyahoga Valley Christian Academy 34-21 at Manchester. Manchester quarterback JoJo France, 7 of 10, 113 yards, 3 touchdown passes, 2 of them to Ethan Wright, who's also rushed for 104 yards. And Hunter Foster has an 80-yard touchdown run. The big CVCA highlight was a 73-yard kickoff return for a touchdown by Trey Tucker. And, of course, the CVCA win would tie Manchester, making co-champions of the Principals Athletic Conference. Whatever CVCA does, it's a vast improvement over last season when they were 1-9. They're 7-2 going into this game.
Mike, what about that crowd? Is the crowd kind of sensing that this could be the historic record-breaking game as well? And we were kind of joking. It's Jim France Stadium. You know you're pretty much a legend when you're still coaching and they named the stadium after you.
Right. It's certainly been a remarkable career. I don't think there's any more reaction to plays or anything that there normally would be, but obviously everybody's aware of it. It's been well publicized, and Jim France has been downplaying the significance of this, but obviously him being a human being, it's got to be in there in his heart somewhere, and it's looming to be a historic night, as you said.
All right, Mike Peticca, we appreciate the update. We will check back in with Mike at that Manchester CVCA game. Let's head back to the phones. Jeff Sabo joins us. He has the Solon and Medina game. Jeff, what's going on with the Comets and the Bees?
Well, it is raining and it is pouring, but both teams giving their heart out here on the field tonight as we are tied 14 apiece. Solon 14, Medina 14 here at Solon Stewart Field. Michael Rutsky getting 2 field goals for the Comets, one from 22 yards out, the other from 30 yards out. And then Thomas Wilkes going in from, I believe it was 59 yards into the end zone. Ryan McCurry would catch the 2-point conversion. And then Medina not giving up easily. Dylan Foltz, he had a 76-yard touchdown run on the second drive of the game that the Medina Battling Bees had. And then Foltz, he would find Chris Kelly from 25 yards out, which, keep in mind, that was a second and goal situation due to a couple of penalties. So we are tied 14 apiece. Both teams trading turnovers here and there. Both teams really kind of playing and giving their heart out. It is raining and it is pouring, but we are having one good football game on our hands.
Hey, Jeff, this is Nate in the studio. I'm just curious just about Thomas Wilkes. I felt like he was probably should have a really good game considering Medina gave up so many rushing yards last week. How have the Comets been able to use him tonight?
Well, Wilkes really had a slow start in the first quarter. It just seemed like that the offensive line really couldn't create holes for him. They were really penetrating, and they were stopping him deep in the backfield. However, second quarter, he was really able to get some good touches. They threw a couple of passes over into the flat to him. He was able to follow his blockers more in the second quarter, be able to between the tackles a little bit more to really help get the running game going. So Wilkes, I really think just based off of seeing him, in a lot of the games earlier this year, typically he takes the first and second quarters to kind of warm up, so to speak, as I usually put it. So I think in the third quarter, as long as that offensive line is giving him opportunities, I think he's going to break one free.
Jeff, it's week 10 here in high school football, and usually this is the time of year where we're talking about teams that have a shot at the playoffs, and Solon surprisingly does not. They've been mathematically eliminated. So when you think back to the 2017 season with Solon and why they didn't get to the postseason, how do you answer that question when you ask yourself?
Well, come October, they really didn't have a very easy schedule. They had to go on the road to play a very tough Euclid team. And that was actually a game in which they trailed, I believe, 27-0 at halftime. They managed to come back in that one. And then you got to keep in mind, the following week, they had to play against a very tough Mentor team in which that game was a shootout. A lot of scores traded here and there. And then they actually had to go the following week to play Shaker Heights on Saturday, which, keep in mind, the Comets really aren't accustomed to playing on Saturday afternoons. So you could just definitely tell that it was kind of throwing them off their rhythm a little bit. They really couldn't get much momentum in that game. So I really think that just the second half of the season, they really had their toughest part of the schedule in October.
All right, Jeff Sabo, we appreciate the update. We will check back in with Jeff at that Medina and Solon matchup. So the Bees coming back to tie it up. They were up 14-7 or 11-7. Then they got another field goal. So.
I think if this was probably any other year, I think I wouldn't be surprised by the score with Solon. But just considering how the last few games have gone for the Comets, I can see why Medina is still kind of in this game. And the Medina, also, as a fan of the game, you also have to kind of feel for them too, just considering how their season started and to be in the situation right now. So tie game. I mean, obviously, I'm sure the crowd will, probably not the home fans. They probably want to see a blowout if they can, but this obviously it looks like it's going to be a close game, a good game here.
But you guys have mentioned all the things that Medina had to deal with throughout the course of this season.
Yeah.
If you look at their losses, though, 8-1 Highland, undefeated Wadsworth, 7-2 Euclid. So I mean, those are some really
teams.
tough teams on that schedule. And if you lose 4 or 5 games, it's going to be really, really difficult for you to battle your way into the postseason, and that's the reality of what Medina faces basically on a yearly basis now, that kind of schedule against that kind of talent. And now they finish off the season against Solon, a team that's usually a postseason team. So if you look at that schedule, there's like 6-7 postseason teams waiting. That's going to be tough. You got to match that bar.
And mind you, Medina's playing last year's Greater Cleveland Conference champion as well. So, I mean, it's a very tough conference, up and down. But, Medina, man, you got to feel for them just how, in the schedule they play. That's a tough schedule.
Another thing that we had talked to Ryan Isley about is the Barberton Magic. And, boy, that's a pretty good football team. Good for them.
Something that I was thinking about when Ryan was speaking, and I was listening to him as well, but just I felt like Barberton is starting to make this imaginary line right now in that Division II, Region 5 and 6 of just like some of these teams that you need to, contenders that you need to keep an eye on the top, and then some of those who are just kind of trailing behind right now, and Barberton is really setting that bar between those two. But Barberton, considering the season that they've had, no surprise that they're up right now this much against Highland. But Highland's a very good team right now, and I'm sure, I'm kind of questioning just as they're going into the playoffs, I wonder what kept them in mind. Is it just Barberton's just beating them, or it's just they're kind of just laying back, say, hey, we got a playoff spot right now. We just want to stay healthy for Week 11.
Well, another game that we are tracking, Valley Forge taking on Bay. Our student reporter, Matt Ganser from Bay, fills us in on that one. Matt?
Thanks, guys. The Rockets lead the Valley Forge Patriots 21-0 here at Bay Memorial Stadium. This is definitely a very different game for the Rockets as, well, it is the regular season. There's not much playing for. They are playing for a very unique record. Tonight, the 2017 Bay High Rockets have the chance to become the first team ever in the history of Bay High School to go 10-0. It's looking very bright for them right now as they have a 21-0 lead. The run game, once again, has been unstoppable. All 3 touchdowns have come from the run game. What they are going to want to improve is the passing game. Quarterback Connor Shell has thrown 2 interceptions, and him and the receivers are going to have to get on the same page if they want to continue this dominance. The defense for the Rockets has played excellent, only allowing 3 first downs and forcing 2 turnovers. Thanks, guys. Now back to you.
Matt Ganser, our student reporter, really good job. And Bay, well on their way to making some school history. We're going to check in with Dan Gilles. He's calling in from the Strongsville-Brunswick game. Dan, what's going on with Brunswick and Strongsville?
Well, Strongsville has dominated this game from pillar to post. It's really surprising. I figured this would be a lot closer game than it is. Strongsville is up 41-0 at halftime, and it's been a lot of big plays for the Strongsville offense, which has pretty much led to the majority of their touchdowns so far.
What about turnovers, and what about Strongsville's defense? Obviously, with the shutout, they're playing well. What have they been doing on that side of the ball?
They have forced 2 turnovers, 2 fumble recoveries, one by Zacharias and one by Peter Schumacher. Both led to touchdowns. And after that, for the most part, it's been 3 and outs. Brunswick did the most they've been able to do right before the end of the half. They put together an 18-play drive that faltered down at the Strongsville 7. That didn't result in any points, but it did melt like 9 minutes off the clock, or else it might have been a little worse than it already is. But the Brunswick offense just hasn't been able to get on track. They put a lot of pressure on the quarterback, and they haven't really allowed them to break off any big runs or anything in the passing game either.
Hey Dan, this is Nate. Taylor Griffin, I'm sure you read as well, had a really good game last week. How have you seen him being utilized in this game? And then also for this Battle of Boston Road, what's the atmosphere like there?
The atmosphere has been electric all night, but most of it's been on the opposite side of the field. Brunswick fans haven't had much to cheer about. As far as Taylor Griffin goes, 137 yards on 8 carries in the first half. He did have a touchdown, a 4-yard touchdown run midway through the second quarter. That actually put them ahead 35-0. And he actually almost broke free on a 97-yard, what would have been a 97-yard touchdown right before the end of the first half. But he ran out of gas and was tackled after what ended up being a game in 84, and that pretty much bolstered his total up to the numbers that it's at. But yeah, pretty much they really haven't had other than that, they really haven't had an opportunity to go to him. They've been really doing their damage through the air with Johnny Major and Joe Gillette.
Dan Gilles, we appreciate the update. 41-0, Strongsville leading at half. So I guarantee you better times ahead for Brecksville. Mark Pinzone, who was a longtime assistant there, turned Medina Buckeye, into a perennial playoff team. First year as head coach. He'll get that turned around. But right now, Brunswick is down, 41-0. So they're going to be running clock to start the third quarter.
Yeah, and just, doing a little bit more research on Strongsville, I mean, obviously they were, they're not playing for anything. This is another pride game for them as well. Brunswick had a very, very, very small chance of making the playoffs.
Right.
That ain't happening now.
So I think after the first half, I think, that's kind of shot now. But no, I mean, 2 of these, fairly new coaches coming in this year. Pinzone's obviously has his record at Buckeye, as you talked about earlier. But no, just to see where they are right now in their first year, is an accomplishment in itself. So, but obviously, Strongsville right now, heck of a job right now here in the first half.
But if you're a team like Westerville Central, you're a team like Findlay, you're a team like Dublin Jerome right now. This is
Lorraine.
Lorraine's the other one. Started tonight in the 7th spot. Yep. This is the kind of result that you internally were certainly hoping for.
Right. Eliminates one of the guys that could come up and take the 7 or 8 spot.
That's exactly right. And to your point, Nate, Strongsville doesn't have the playoffs to play for necessarily, but these are the kinds of wins, these are the kinds of games that are going to matter next year and the year after that. When you're talking about building a program, and Strongsville won 2 games just last year, and now they have a chance for a winning season. And it's not going to result in the playoffs, but a winning season for a program like this, I mean, that's a big deal, no question.
And I think it was only a couple weeks ago that Brunswick actually put up like over 50 points last week against Brunswick a couple weeks ago.
Against Euclid. I think they gave up 78, but yeah.
in that respect, so I mean, this team has offense talent. I mean, they know what they're, but tonight, Strongsville's is another episode.
And it comes on the heels of not scoring in the fourth quarter last week against Medina. Now, Brunswick snuck away with a win, but you saw some warts there in the fourth quarter where the offense couldn't really get going, and it's carried over into tonight's game.
Well, we are going to take a timeout as we are at halftime of most of the Week 10 games here on Friday Night Huddle, along with Chris Fedor and Nate Cline from cleveland.com. I'm Dave Bacon. We will be back with more of Week 10 Friday Night Huddle after this timeout.
Met Battle Events.
Have you ever lived for something? Have you ever dreamt of something? Something more? Something special? Something bigger than yourself? Well, have you? This is what you live for!
Home of high school sports. Spectrum Sports. Exclusively on Spectrum. Lives here. We are Spectrum Sports, exclusively on Spectrum.
Hi, Mother Nature here. I guess you could slap some paint on your cracked, ugly concrete garage floor. But seriously, that's hiding the problem, not fixing it. Get a Nature Stone floor instead for the perfect permanent solution to your garage floor problems. No more dangerous cracks or slippery standing water. And right now, Nature Stone has this special offer on a beautiful, durable Nature Stone floor. See ya.
Nature Stone, the only concrete solution. Yeah.
The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education program has been recognizing students and teachers who shine both in and out of the classroom since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com and click on Supporting Education. Students in kindergarten through 12th grade are eligible to be academic all-stars. K through 12 teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible to be honored as the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education, where stars shine.
This is it. Your big break. Your one shot. Your only chance. There are two outcomes. Make history or be history.
The home of high school sports. Spectrum Sports. Exclusively on Spectrum.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
lives here. We are Spectrum Sports, exclusively on Spectrum.
Welcome back to Friday Night Huddle. I'm Dave Bacon along with Chris Fedor and Nate Cline from cleveland.com. Week 10, we are wrapping up the regular season and getting ready to move forward into the playoffs. And every week we take a look back at the results of the top 15 plays from last week as voted on by you, the fans, on cleveland.com. You can go on to cleveland.com at noon tomorrow and vote through Thursday. Here is the top 15 plays from Week 9, Thursday night, the Dayton area. Carlisle's DJ Chambers going and going. 34 yards for the touchdown. Carlisle won 28-20 against Eaton.
Number 14, how about Bedford? This is Kenneth Wilkins, 25-yard run. Look at him dance, still dancing, bouncing it to the outside. He got the touchdown run in the Bearcats' 54-48 win against Lorraine. More from him later in the countdown.
At number 13, check out Kenny's teammate, Carleen Townsend, with a 60-yard catch right there. Look at him. Now, I saw this last week. Watch this. Oh, my gosh. He's moving his hands. Take a look at that. And he's still going.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah. He's going for the end zone there.
Whoa.
Bearcats win 54-48.
That's 13.
It's Lorraine.
Woo. Number 12, more Bedford. More Kenneth Wilkins. Yeah, throws one tackler away, throws another tackle, puts his hand down to keep his balance. Now he sees the end zone, and he gets into the end zone. Touchdown, 15 yards. More from Wilkins, still more from Wilkins coming up.
Number 11, it's Kirtland. That means it's a run. In this case, it's Joey Torek. 58 yards, got a nice hole, little juice. Can he get there? Yes. Touchdown run. Hornets win 42-35 on the road against Cuyahoga Heights.
Great Lakes needs to give this guy the running title this year. Trey Pasota with a 37-yard touchdown run for the Rockets. They won 28-17 against Revere.
Number 9, and it's Cuyahoga Heights. Lucas DeRazio through the hole, and nobody going to come anywhere near him. 47 yards for the touchdown. The Redskins lost 42-35 to Kirtland in that one at home.
Number 8, here's that man again. It's Bedford's Kenny Wilkins on defense. Folks, he can play defense too with the stick at the goal line. Bearcats win 54-48 against Lorraine.
Woo. That one preserved it.
At number 7, Tatis Tatarunas from Menor to Luke Floria for a 72-yard touchdown pass in the Cardinals' 61-59 win against Euclid.
A late submission via the Coconut Telegraph. Friday night by Matt Goul. It's Connor McIntosh, a game-winning 35-yard field goal. Menor won 61-59 on that field goal as the Cardinals celebrate.
Moving on, this is number 5, Westerville Central's Alan Smith. Taking the handoff, big hole up the middle, and he does the rest. 43 yards for the touchdown run in the Warhawks' 42-35 win against Westerville South.
Chip Parker from Eaton at number 4 recovers the fumble and takes it to the house. Take a look at this. Oh, yeah.
Give me that.
Oh, yeah. There he is. And there he goes. Eagles fell 28-20, though, to Carlisle.
The top 3 at number 3, Euclid's Aubrey Shabazz. Lefty. Nice touch. Drayvon Lindsay had a huge night. 46 yards on that touchdown. Panthers lost 61-59 to Menor, though.
Number 2, this got 17% of the vote. It is Rocky River's Michael Finnegan. Rolling. He's a lefty. Throwing it up for grabs, and it's caught. That's William Sharp, 18-yard touchdown. Pirates win it 44-6 against Parma.
And back to Cuyahoga Heights with 39% of the vote. Ryan Polk connects with Tyler Hughes for a 64-yard score. But the Redskins lost at home, 42-35 to the CVC champs, Kirtland.
Gotta love the fact that our Cuyahoga Heights voting block came out strong with 39% of the vote. Hashtag FNH for Friday Night Huddle, top plays. Hashtag FNH top plays. Send us your plays. Come on, we know everybody has a phone. You take video. Tweet them to us at that hashtag. We'll use them in tonight's top 10 plays for the final regular season week here on Friday Night Huddle. We've already seen some that are going to be in there, I'm certain.
No question. As
young Mr. Parker's run through the entire defense to get into the end zone for his second touchdown. It's pretty good for Barberton.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some great plays already here in the first half, and so still got a second half play left of football, so we're going to just see what comes up. So.
Well, one of the games we are keeping track of is the Avon Berea-Midpark game. Zach Harley is at that game and files this report. Take it away, Zach.
Dressel Field in Berea, where the Titans are taking on the Eagles of Avon. Avon came in 9-0, and they're really helping themselves towards that 10-0 perfect regular season. Avon leads 41-14 at the half. Their quarterback, Ryan Malloy, 5 first half touchdowns, 2 running, 3 passing. The 2 touchdowns for Berea-Midpark, both from quarterback Trevin Bazinski to 2 different receivers. Avon really leading it both offensively and defensively. Berea-Midpark, their running game, passing game, besides the first drive and the last drive of the half, really cannot get anything going, whereas Avon, they've only had a punt twice, no turnovers in the game from both teams. If it keeps up like this, Avon's going to go 10-0, and they're going to solidify themselves as a top 5 team in Northeast Ohio.
All right, Zach, and I think that's probably a safe assumption that they're going to continue to get that done. The top seed in their region, which is Division II Region 6, top-ranked team in the state in Division II by the AP poll. Lots of good things going on with the Avon Eagles, and you know, they're getting a little bit of defense. They usually just blow up scoreboards and outscore people. Now they're shutting other teams down, too.
If you thought that the Eagles were going to take a break tonight, obviously they're proving us wrong right now. 9-0 right now. They want to go for that title, the Southwestern Conference title champions, and they also want to make sure that that #1 seed in the region is intact. So 5 touchdowns by Ryan Malloy, quarterback right now. I think he's kind of putting himself in the conversation right now of even possibly maybe Mr. Football.
I think they're ready. I think Avon's ready for the postseason. Call me crazy, but they look like it on offense and on defense. It is, you mentioned the defense. You know, you're right. I think sometimes we overlook it, too. We don't give it enough credit because we focus so much on the offense. But 14 against North Ridgeville, the most any team has scored against them so far this year is 21. And that's pretty good when your offense is going to put up 40, 45 most nights. So that's part of the reason why Avon does usually advance so far into the postseason is the offense. But you got to have that defense to back it up, too.
And we've said this. Mike Elder can coach a little bit of football there. So Eagles looking strong. Another team that looks pretty strong, the Wadsworth Grizzlies. Matt Goul is at that game and files this report from Hudson and Wadsworth. Take it away, Matt.
Well, the rain is starting to come down here at Hudson Memorial Stadium. I'm Matt Goul for cleveland.com, Friday Night Huddle, where it is 28-7, Wadsworth leading Hudson. The Grizzlies looking for an outright Suburban League title. It's their first championship league title since 2009. They're trying to get that 10-0 record as well. And, of course, you know, the Player of the Year candidate, Joey Boffman, he has been something else again tonight. We have Boffman unofficially 8 carries, 167 yards, 3 touchdowns running. You probably saw that last one where his helmet got jarred a little bit at the goal line. He also has a touchdown pass, a 16-yard TD pass to Mitchell Blackburn. And he has, passing-wise, 7 of 16 for 97 yards. So the Grizzlies, 292 yards of total offense. Meanwhile, it hasn't been all bad for Hudson. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, they're without Greg Maley. He got hurt late on one of the last plays Hudson had at Stow 2 weeks ago. He is on crutches here tonight. As for Colt Pillay, his quarterback, he's still been efficient. 9 of 11 for 125 yards.
Now we play the song these seniors ever marched to. Sam Murak, Alex Dyer, Liz Fry, Becca Meyer,
that's a little loud, isn't it?
Jackson Foster, and Mitchell Cox bring you a drill that really spells out this next tune. Here's AC/DC's 1980 hit, Back in Black.
Well, it's not the first time that the PA has interrupted play tonight, or interrupted me, I guess, and the play. You might have saw earlier on one of those touchdown runs. Jeff Kurtz, who was the Kent State media announcer, was doing a ceremony for Ray Ebersol, the former AD who retired this year. My camera is starting to go a little fuzzy, so I'm going to check out here from Hudson, where it is 28-7 at the half. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, the marching band's a little loud, but that's okay. It's senior
and the
night.
rain, too.
Come on, man. People came in there to party.
Well, it's been the Wadsworth Grizzlies that have been partying.
The wrong side of the field.
Yeah, well, I guess let's start with Joey. You know, let's get on the wagon there. Here we go. Joey Boffman almost over 100 yards each for both passing and receiving. You know, I guess it's not far from what he usually does anyway, but just especially in the conditions of the rain, you know, hats off to him. So
he's averaging 20 yards a carry. I mean, think about that. That's your quarterback.
He had a 73-yard touchdown run.
That helps the average, that's for sure.
And especially they're going to need that to come to the playoffs when it starts getting colder, and you know, you're not going to be able to rely on that passing game as much. So, but yeah, the Grizzlies are in good shape right now against Hudson.
He's going to get a late start to wrestling. I mean, he's not going to be able to wrestle in that Ironman tournament that he came in like third or fourth in his weight class. Because they're going deep in the playoffs. Yep. They're going to have a couple of playoff games, I think.
And I'm sure Virginia wants to make sure that he's healthy after graduation as well, when after he committed there. So.
Yep. So, you know what though, you saw what they did to Stow, and you saw the way they played against Stow.
Yep, Nate.
And you figured it was going to translate. That's the game that when they did that to a really good Stow team, you're kind of like, they're legit.
I can't remember the last time, guys, that 52 points per game
in
offense. I can't remember the last team that Menor doesn't do that. You know, Avon is incredible offensively. They're not doing that. So if you have any other questions about Wadsworth, I don't know what they are. Maybe the question belongs with you, because this team is proving time and time again that they have the components offensively and defensively. And when you've got a quarterback, a dual-threat quarterback like Joey Boffman, one of the best in the area, and you've got the running game, and you've got wide receivers, they talk about all the time in the NFL and college, the triplets. Wadsworth has triplets offensively.
They will definitely get a few lines from me in our capsules this weekend.
That'd be nice.
So, yes.
Be a change of pace for you there, Nate.
You know, the interesting thing is, you know, there's several teams that are on a collision course in Division II, being Hoban and Barberton, Wadsworth and Avon. That's going to be really fun to watch and follow as the playoffs go along. You know, the interesting thing is all the playoff games are on Friday night, and you know, if you're watching this on Spectrum Sports, there'll be live games every Friday night that you can watch. Remember, the kickoffs go to 7:30 instead of 7 o'clock. But there's some interesting matchups that are going to eventually creep up through that.
You have some of these teams talking about like the Hobans, the Barbertons, the Avons, the Wadsworths. I mean, a lot of these teams have both great offenses and great defenses, and then you look at some of these other teams where you have Bedfords, the Brushes, the Olmsted Falls, where they have like these talented groups of like runners and receivers, and so it's just the question is just what's going to show up that night.
Yeah.
And boy, that's probably one of the reasons why I'm really excited about coming to playoffs in Week 11 here to start.
You know, you bring up Barberton, and that's a team that's got to scare the bejeebies out of players, because you look at that team and you look at Kenny Wilkins and you got to go, if they ever find a way to not self-destruct, not turn the ball over, not have the silly penalties, they've got the parts to be, every bit as good as anybody. And that's a team, if they can minimize the mistakes, they're a tough matchup for anybody.
Yeah, you're right about that. And the other thing is, as we've talked about, Division II can create some chaos. Remember last year? Avon goes into it talking about how great Avon is. They had the undefeated regular season. And then in the first round of the playoffs, they play an opponent that knows them well, knows their tendencies, and just had a better night. And then all of a sudden, Avon, one of the teams that you thought was going to make a deep run in Division II, because of the way Division II is, Avon Lake was the first round opponent. I mean, that's crazy that it was Avon Lake, and then they knock off Avon. So those things can happen in both Division I, Region I. I think maybe with Glenville sitting there as a number 3 seed. University School's probably going to be a 6 or a 7 seed. So some of these higher seeds, they got to be on upset watch when you're talking about the postseason.
Well, that whole region, the lower seeds won. So 5, 6, 7, 8 won last year in the first round of it was the upside down region.
Yeah.
If you were a high seed, top 4 seeds lost in the first week of the playoffs. We've been keeping our eye on the Solon Medina game, And the Medina Bees battling. And tied at 14. And Dylan Fultz, little zone read, play action, throws into the end zone. Kelly grabs it, touchdown. And Medina takes a 21-14 lead on the Fultz to Kelly touchdown pass. 21 yards on that one. And the Bees now lead 21-14 in the third quarter.
Hey, I mean, if you're going to try to get a win against Solon, you know, this is the year to do it right now because, you know, I've talked about it before. They've dropped their last 3 games, and Medina's got to say, man, we got to feel pretty good about ourselves going into this game against the Comets. But definitely, I think they need to try to tack on some more points because, as we've seen, Solon can cut a lead when they want to. But right now, you know, hats off to the Hornets right now for getting ahead against the Comets.
Well, another game that we have touched on a little bit was the Eastlake North and Chardon game, 14-7. Eastlake North leading in the third quarter. And if they can win that game, they will make the playoffs for the first time in school history. So let's check in, and here is Eastlake North trying to punch it in. Brett Payne fighting, dives into the end zone. So the Rangers put 7 more on the board, and there it is, 21-7, fourth quarter. So I always cheer for the teams that are trying to make the playoffs for the first time in school history. So, again, not against the Hilltoppers by any stretch of the imagination. Just want the Eastlake North Rangers to feel the excitement of the playoffs for the first time in school history.
Chardon or Eastlake North, which one do you want to?
No, you go ahead.
I think I'm sure we'll talk about Eastlake and just their success, but really what the big surprise for me is just the Hilltoppers this year, considering how well they did finish last year and then just, you know, be upset in the playoffs there. But that's probably my biggest surprise, just all the playmakers they had. You have Chase Cline, who's going to Michigan State. You know, you figured like, hey, you know, this should be a talented squad that should have been able to even win the Western Reserve Conference. Brush beats them, and now looks like they're getting ready to lose over here to Eastlake North. So,
and for Eastlake North, they had a tough road to get to this point, just to put themselves in position to get this playoff spot for the first time in school history. It's taken a 4-game winning streak that was preceded by a 4-game losing streak. Right. They very easily could have been like, oh my gosh, you know, season's over, we lose against Willoughby South, our rival, and we get blown out by them 46-13, a stunning loss for Eastlake North, and they've rallied. They've beaten Riverside, Brush, Mayfield, Madison, and now here they are against mighty Chardon with a chance to get in. So kudos to them. If they can finish it off tonight against Chardon, it would be a heck of a story after coming from 1-4.
Well, you mentioned that 4-game losing streak they had. One of those losses was to a really good Kenston team by just 3. And I'm guessing that's kind of the point in the season where they, you know, we're pretty good. Then they come back and they hold Brush, which was blowing up scoreboards. Yes. Their defense holds them down and they beat them. And I think that's the time they realized, you know what, guys, if we can beat Brush, we're a playoff team.
Yeah, I mean, this Western Reserve Conference, I mean, this is something that, you know, I didn't project coming in the year. I thought Chardon was going to be a little bit better. Eastlake North has been hanging in there. Obviously, we see enough of that. Brush has been putting up quite a bit of points against teams. So there's some really shake-up. And a lot of those teams that we mentioned, I mean, they're right all in that same region. And probably going to be waiting for them on the other end of there. You got Barberton and all those other teams that we talk about, those powerhouses. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be an easy road if they do make it into the playoffs. But you know what? When it's the first time, it's something that you can build on for your program. You get the extra week of practice for your entire squad. That's what happens with perennial playoff teams. There's 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks of practice where you get to develop young players, and that's, it's like another season. If you make it to the finals, that's like another half season of practice.
And that's something I'm always curious about with some of these teams that are coming into the playoffs for the first time, or they just finished coming off these big long streaks. Basically, how do they be able to calm down and say, look, you know what, we've got to find a way to be able to take care of business against this number 1 team or this number 2 team. So Eastlake North, it looks like, providing everything goes well, and right now I think they're sitting at number 7 right now in the region.
If they win, they control their own
destiny. They'll have a shot to be able to kind of prove that.
But again, it's not necessarily about getting into the playoffs and winning at this level. Get in, and then, that's the next step in your program.
And guys, if they get in, nobody is expecting them to win against either Hoban or Barberton. So you just say, you know what, we're going to rally around that, and we're just going to have a blast. And we're just going to throw everything out there, everything that we have, every scheme that we have. We got nothing to lose.
Yep.
So let's play free. Let's play the way that we've played all season long. And I think that's something that can help a team like that.
Absolutely. And you know what? That's, again, their coach is in just his 3rd year. So they were winless his first year. They won 4 games last year. I mean, if that's the blueprint, you're on the right track to developing a program right there.
And it sounds like a very close story to Barberton, how that worked over the last 4 years.
And I'll take it another step further. The young man is a alum of the school, just like Anthony Gatto. So Coach Sean Dodd is an alum of that school. So that's good things, all good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
And you know, let's shift gears a minute. You know, we were talking about Stow and Brecksville, and Stow really trying to get out of that 7th spot. That's 7, 8. You don't want any part of those first-round games against St. Ignatius, St. Ed's. Not that Mentor's any bargain. You know, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But if you're given the choice,
you
know which one you take.
Sure.
And if Stow, you know, if the things break the way Stow hopes they do, they could get into the 5 spot. Then it's a 4-5, which is a much better matchup towards advancing.
Yeah, absolutely, and believe me, if I'm a Stow, I wouldn't want to try to face either of those 2 teams either, or Mentor. But you know, Stow also has that experience. You know, I mean, they've been to this situation. The coaching staff knows how to prepare these guys for it. But the question is just how do they respond with that on the field come week 11? But no, I mean, right now they're just trying to make sure they try to get better, make sure they try to clean up anything that they need to before week 11, because they can't have those same mistakes against Ignatius or an Edward or a Mentor.
Well, we're going to step aside and take a quick timeout as games are starting to get into the 4th quarter here, week 10 of the regular season, along with Nate Cline and Chris Fedor from cleveland.com. I'm Dave Bacon. You're watching Friday Night Huddle here on Spectrum Sports and cleveland.com. We'll be right back.
Let battle commence.
Have you ever lived for something? Have you ever dreamt of something? Something more? Something special? Something bigger than yourself? Well, have you?
This is what you live for.
Home of high school sports, Spectrum Sports, exclusively on Spectrum. Lives here. We are Spectrum Sports, exclusively on Spectrum.
Hi, Mother Nature here. I guess you could slap some paint on your cracked, ugly concrete garage floor. But seriously, that's hiding the problem, not fixing it. Get a Nature Stone floor instead for the perfect permanent solution to your garage floor problems. No more dangerous cracks or slippery standing water. And right now, Nature Stone has this special offer on a beautiful, durable Nature Stone floor. See ya.
Nature Stone, the only concrete solution. Yeah.
The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education program has been recognizing students and teachers who shine both in and out of the classroom since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com and click on Supporting Education. Students in kindergarten through 12th grade are eligible to be academic all-stars. K through 12 teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible to be honored as the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education, where stars shine.
This is it. Your big break. Your one shot. Your only chance. There are two outcomes. Make history or be history.
The home of high school sports. Spectrum Sports. Exclusively on Spectrum.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Now he shoots it!
What you live for lives here. We are Spectrum Sports, exclusively on Spectrum.
Welcome back to Friday Night Huddle. I'm Dave Bacon along with Nate Cline and Chris Fedor from cleveland.com. One of the games we are tracking is Medina taking on Solon. When last we left you, the Medina Bees opened up a 21-14 lead. Solon trying to answer, driving the ball deep into Medina territory. And there is Thomas Wilkes kind of gliding into the end zone to tie it up on the 2-yard touchdown run. 21-21 third quarter as Solon answers and ties up the game with the Medina Bees. So Thomas Wilkes, as you might have thought.
Yeah, hey, I mean, if you're a football fan, it's a close game. You know, you're getting your money's worth here for a tight game. So, but yeah, like I said earlier, Thomas Wilkes, I felt like he was going to have to be a difference maker in this game. So.
He's got to be a difference maker most nights for Solon. And I think that might go back to some of the problems that they encountered throughout the course of the season with the inconsistent offense is that, you know, they did have questions at quarterback coming into the season, having to replace their quarterback from last year. And when you go in with those kinds of questions, oftentimes you lean on Thomas Wilkes, but guess who else knows that? The opponent knows that. So they're going to load up to try and slow him down, and they're going to key in on him, and suddenly some of those holes that he got last year because of the way Solon ran their offense, they're not going to be as readily available. And it's something that every big-time player is going to have to adjust to, is being the target on every single night.
So a little play action, Fultz throws, and it is complete.
That was a fourth down, too. Did I see that
Yeah,
correctly?
you
Wow.
did. It was a fourth down, and it is grabbed by...
Can we throw the challenge flag on that one? That was close.
First and goal.
Bring out the tablet so they can read
right.
that.
Levi Pokersnick grabs that for the first down. And that's a young fellow that transferred in from Benedictine. So first and goal.
I don't know that he was in bounds. I want to see that again. There's part of me that wants to see that in bounds. See if he actually caught that. But that's a heck of a response by Medina to be this close already after giving up that tying score.
There's Fultz again. Look at that run. And he's down inside the 5. Dylan Fultz, what an athlete. Kind of not a whole lot of space. You can tell it's raining. Anytime the referee's pulling out the old towel to wipe off the football, pretty wet. It's not wet here in the studio, though.
Yeah,
nice and dry.
Yeah, at the end of the 10 weeks, I mean, when you look at Fultz's stats, I mean, he's going to have some impressive stats to see, but it was just, there was just, a few turnovers here and there, and just missing some key plays, just what really hurt them.
He's been banged up a lot of the year, too, though. He hasn't been healthy. So 2nd and goal from inside the 5.
In this third quarter.
Fultz cuts it up.
Close.
Dives.
For the signal.
I think he's nodding yes, he's in.
Medina thinks he's in, but the referees say he's down just
Oh,
short.
no. They say no.
Bring up the tablet.
Oh, look at that. Yeah. You want another challenge.
Yes. We're going back to New York for this one. See what they say about that. But, I mean,
End
Fultz
of the
is,
third quarter there, too, it looks like.
he's not the biggest guy, but you can see right there he's shifty at the goal line. So he's able to make you miss. And they've been talking about that for the last couple of years with him. Is unconventional, doesn't have the size that you typically have for a quarterback, but finds a way to put up big numbers.
Yeah, and this game, like I said, I'm just happy if I'm paying for a ticket for this game, because I mean it's a real tight one. It's not a big blowout, but just again, Solon, man, it's kind of just a sad how they've gotten to week 10 and where they are right now. But we even talked about it in a few weeks. It's just that there was going to be a really good team that was going to miss out on those top 8 spots in Region 1.
Welcome to Division 1, Region 1.
I had to put my glasses on because you mentioned his size. He's listed at 6 foot 185, but it's kind of like in little microscopic print.
Right.
I'm a little old for that at this point, but 6 foot 185.
Yeah,
that might be generous.
I was gonna say, most of the times when that happens with a school, program weight, program height. I mean, back in the day, I used to say that I was 5'11". I'm certainly not 5'11", but you know what? Round up. Always round up.
Yeah, and as we mentioned when we went to that was the end of the third quarter.
Yep.
So they are now starting the fourth quarter. And they will start at 3rd and goal from inside the 1 yard line. I don't know if it gets any closer to the goal line than they are.
So
it's basically touching the goal line.
I know.
Just inside the 1.
So they're loaded up in Fultz. Got in that time?
It sure has been.
Maybe.
Flags on both sides of the field.
Oh, they stopped it.
Penalty on there was a flag on the play.
Across that line of scrimmage before the ball was snapped.
I think it was just a number that dropped off the jersey.
Find out in just a minute.
Trying to sort it out there.
Still trying to sort it out.
They're bringing in some more size up front.
There's a flag there.
4 officials all together trying to figure this one out.
Offside, so that's going to be about a 3 millimeter penalty.
That's exactly right. I was thinking that. Okay.
How are you going to move that half the distance? It's going to be touching the goal line.
So half the distance is going to be 1/8 of the distance.
So again, it'll be 3rd and goal.
Yeah.
And they do load box up.
I mean, that ball is on the goal line.
They are breathing on the line.
Keep Tractor, and he dives in.
That's amazing.
There you go.
That is so good.
There is the touchdown signal. So Medina answers that Solon touchdown with a nice drive, and they get into the end zone.
Just reach it right over.
Do what you got to do.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, we got to see.
Resourceful.
Hey, look, Solon's been in this kind of position before in the fourth quarter, and for them, their offense has not been able to come through. So now it's up to the offense to answer Medina. They were able to do it and play even with them, 21-21. They got the score to take it from 21-14 to 21-21. They were in this position against Euclid, threw an interception in the end zone. Part of the reason why they're not going to be in the postseason. They were in this position against Menor, weren't able to get it done. So now it's up to the offense again.
Yeah, and you know the Medina again. You got to be impressed. They've been beat up, and for them to just continue to answer. Again, neither of these teams are going to the playoffs. So let's see how much they really want to win this game. That's what you're looking at right now. Which team wants it?
Yeah, for Medina, I'm sure that they got to say they're looking at the locker room like we're missing a lot of guys. Let's all rally for this game here in Week 10. And then for Solon on their end, I mean, this is a pride thing right now. I mean, Chris, you talked about it. We talked about it. How do you cure losing, you win.
Right.
So,
I mean, who wants to be a part of a losing season at Solon or a non-winning season because they could be 5-5? You just don't. You don't go to Solon for that sort of thing. You go to Solon because you want to compete for conference championships and because you want to compete in the postseason. So while it doesn't seem like there's a lot for Solon to play for, getting that 6th win and solidifying yet another winning season, I think that's meaningful.
Yeah, I mean, you always want to say we've had X amount of winning seasons.
Yeah.
You never want to say and won 5.
Right.
Oh, and by the way, we were 500.
Yeah, and Solon didn't get to this point by themselves. I mean, they had to, Menor and Euclid were, knocking on that door. They wanted that conference title to strip from them, and Menor was the one that came out with that right now. And they're in a very good spot right now in the playoffs. They're avoiding, the monsters of the Ignatius and the Edwards. So, that's the situation that they're in right now. And so, again, very close game. Everyone's getting their tickets worth in this right now.
And for Solon, again, this is a spot where they have struggled. If you go back and you think and you say, okay, why did Solon miss the postseason in 2017? I think the thing that's going to stand out for them is that they weren't good enough in close games. You talk about a close game loss against Euclid, close game loss against Menor, one-score loss against Shaker Heights, one-score loss against Stow. You get one of those, and you're probably a postseason team. So now here they are again in a one-possession game against Medina, a place where Solon has not been very comfortable this year.
Well, and if you think about it, those one-possession games where they are not getting it done, that will particularly frustrate Jim McQuaid, who every time we talk to him talks about defense. We're defense, we need defense, we need defense.
Yep.
That would be frustrating as a head coach.
Yeah, and right now, the defense, they're going to keep it a tight game for you. It's just the offense has to come out there and be able to respond the same way. So, right now it's in the offense's hands. They're getting ready to take the field now, and they need to be able to march down the field and keep this game close and even try to pull out that win tonight.
Another game that we are tracking, the Stow Bulldogs, trying to get in and move up in that Division I Region 1. They're already guaranteed a playoff spot. They lead with just over 6 minutes left. Second down inside the 15. Rice, all kinds of time. Oh, comes and gets sacked back at the 22. And a big hit is coming up and making the play is Alex Barsotti. Coming on the little delayed blitz.
I thought you were setting up a scoring play there.
Oh, no, it's a live looking.
I thought that was a scoring play there. Like, all right, he's going to throw this touchdown.
Look at he's reading. That's a great play by the linebacker. He's kind of reading in the middle of the defense and then saw him roll out and took a straight line with some aggressiveness. They're down in 17. Rice keeps it. Wolovar blocking. And Rice still on his feet. Corian Rice. Do they say he's in? Yes, touchdown. It's a heck of a run.
Yeah.
But Adrian Wolver, number 31, just knocked over a couple people. And that's a guy that they started playing as a linebacker. He's a linebacker lineman. They started playing him as a running back, predominantly in that Hudson game. And he was knocking people over in that game. So they go with two H-backs. They use him and their fullback. And they load up that line, and they like hitting people.
If anybody was watching carefully those couple plays there when Corian Rice went down, the defender had a moment to stare at him like, I dare you to try that again. And then come back later, Corian Rice gets in the end zone. He turns around and had some words with somebody. So even though right now that Stowe is kind of just taking off with his game right now, this is a very tight game. And obviously you can see why, both of these two teams are in the Suburban League right now playing each other.
So Stowe with that game in hand, 28-0, and there's about 6 minutes, less than 6 minutes left. So they're going to improve, and it's going to come down to, does McKinley win?
Right.
And can Menor pull it out? Or can Euclid pull it out? Top three are already guaranteed of home games, being St. Ed's, St. Ignatius, and Menor. So you've got Euclid, Stowe, and Canton McKinley trying to hop into that fourth spot and get that fourth and final home game. And the other thing you want to do is you want to make sure you avoid 7 and 8.
And the other thing that we were talking about was Division II, Region 5, and just some of those teams that could have had a chance to jump into the mix and maybe leapfrog a team. Brecksville-Broadview Hts was one of those teams coming into the night. They have not had a losing season since 2009. It looks like they're on their way to that happening, and they're going to be eliminated from the postseason picture if Stow hangs on. So Lake Catholic, Mayfield, they benefit from that.
Yep, and we've already kind of touched on the fact that East Lake North had a 14-point lead.
Yep.
They're trying to grab one of those remaining spots in that region, trying to get their first playoff appearance in school history. So.
Yeah, and you know, one of the teams we're talking about, Region 5, that I'm looking at, even though they finished 4-5 through 9 weeks, Mentor Lake Catholic, they had some very tight games with some of these teams that we've seen already on film, and they're not going to make the playoffs. So this is just like another story of just some of these teams that have just got a chance to miss off on these playoff opportunities. So, but you know, at the end of tonight, you know, we're going to find out who these 8 teams are that represent each region, and we're going to watch them get a chance to duke it out.
I'm trying to do the math, and poof. It's tough. It's really tough when you start trying to figure this out, but it looks like Mayfield, maybe, as the number 8 seed in Division II, Region 5. It's the team that looks really, really close.
It'll end up coming down to, again, it's going to be second-level points, so the teams, they win, and you won't know until Saturday because there's some Saturday games as well. So it will be a long couple of evenings for high school football players and coaches.
It's the worst for the players.
Yeah, like trying to figure out, is it going to, are we in? Are we out? Do we got it? But it's, you know, it's fun to sit there and
you just
put yourself in a position.
Yeah, you take care of what you have to take care of, and then you sit there and you bring out your calculator on your iPhone or your TI-83 for those that used those back in the day, and you sit there and you try and crunch the numbers. Like, all right, who has to win? Who has to lose? Secondary points. Or you just sit there and you wait it out and just wait for the official word. One of the two.
And at 3 o'clock Sunday, they'll tell you all the playoff pairings on Spectrum Sports with their playoff pairing special. Yes, that was a plug. So as you look at it, though, there's going to be some fascinating first-round matchups in Division I, Region 1. When you're talking about the 4-5 game, which, you know, that's some version of Mentor could be the 3, but it's going to be Euclid, McKinley, Stow. You know, Mentor could slip to 4, but not likely. And you're probably looking at Perry and Jackson being the 7-8. So your Federal League guys are going. They have to deal with the Saints up top.
Really tough.
Yeah.
I'm going to start with McKinley. I mean, you know, this was a team that was ranked really high up until they lost that tight game against Perry, I believe it was last week. And, you know, I felt like this was going to be a very dangerous team. And they're still a very dangerous team. Josh Chandler, that was kind of the factor. Like, he only played a little bit in that minute
he's
game.
Been banged up.
Right.
Yeah, so, you know, I think that's kind of like hinged on what I think about how McKinley's going to fare in the playoffs here.
Here's something that we haven't really discussed that – So McKinley has a young guy that is playing running back, Keyshawn Watson. Last year he was at Massillon. He had to sit out the first 5 games of this season because of the transfer rule. So he became eligible, and he's got it carried the load against Perry. So you add that to what is already a talented skill position set, and all of a sudden, you know, McKinley, they've got some players that can create some problems. Now, again, it's going to be interesting because he played against Perry last week. His second game that he's going to be dressing and playing for Camp McKinley is against his old team.
Yeah.
And by the way, he was the most valuable player of that game last year when McKinley played Massillon for Massillon. So there's some intrigue in that. He could very well end up being the first guy who was the player of the game for Massillon one year and the player of the game for McKinley the next year. Now, there have been guys that have changed.
Yeah. As if the rivalry wasn't great enough to begin with. I mean, this is one that everybody always looks forward to every single year. Talking about on Saturday, it's McKinley, Massillon, or it's St. Ed's, St. Ignatius. It's just those kinds of games. And now you add a little bit more to that. And I think for Canton McKinley, the most important thing for them is they got to play better going into the postseason. This is a team that was playing well at the beginning of the year. They had a couple of really, really dominant performances, especially on the defense, and we're starting to look at it and say, wow, this is a defense that can really be the backbone if you go into the postseason. And there's been some slippage there, and there's been some inconsistency offensively if you look at the last couple of games for them, even in some wins. So they got to put it together tomorrow against Massillon so that they can build some confidence going into the postseason.
Another team that I think that needs to actually put together, and talking about Regional 1, is going to be Euclid. I mean, we've talked about just that second half and how much that just is like hurts them in games.
Yeah.
So I feel like, whoever Euclid has to draw in this playoffs, they're going to have to try to play, any team, they're going to have to try to play their best football in these 5 weeks, with the playoffs. But, Euclid's going to have to clean up those second half mistakes.
Well, one of the games that we keep tracking is the Solon-Medina game, and Medina a 28-21 lead on Solon, and the Comets trying to rally near midfield. Caver bobbled. Labatis grabs it, and Anthony Labatis takes it in for the touchdown. Pick six. Yikes. 35-21. Medina now leads after the pick six.
Wasn't it? It was a couple weeks ago. I believe it was Solon. The same quarterback threw an interception on a tip drill again. Like, those are the small plays that are just not going the way of Solon this year. It's those little things, and we talked about it. Okay, the defense, it showed some slippage there, allowed Medina to take a 7-point lead. Now it's back in the hands of the offense. The defense had picked up Solon so many times throughout the course of this year and in years past. Can the offense do it? And it's just the small things, the small inconsistencies for Solon. It's a microcosm. That play is a microcosm. If you're wondering why in the heck they're not in the postseason, you just turn that on, and it's like, okay, that's how the season has gone for us.
And just to recap, and I'm even going back to 2016. These two teams met at the last week of the regular season, and it was going to be a title. Who was going to come away with it. And now just look at the situation of these two teams right now. And Solon was the kind of team last year that was making those type of plays that you just saw Medina making right there. So what a difference makes right now. Medina was hurt earlier in the year with all their injuries and losses with players. And then Solon, just key plays just dropping each last few weeks here. So.
Well, we're going to take another time out here on Friday Night Huddle as the games are late in the fourth quarter here in the final week of the regular season. Along with Nate Cline and Chris Fedor from cleveland.com, I'm Dave Bacon. You're watching Friday Night Huddle. We'll be right back after this time.
Let battle commence.
Have you ever lived for something? Have you ever dreamt of something? Something more? Something special? Something bigger than yourself? Well, have you? This is what you live for!
Home of high school sports. Spectrum Sports. Exclusively on Spectrum. here. We are Spectrum Sports, exclusively on Spectrum.
Hi, Mother Nature here. I guess you could slap some paint on your cracked, ugly concrete garage floor. But seriously, that's hiding the problem, not fixing it. Get a Nature Stone floor instead for the perfect permanent solution to your garage floor problems. No more dangerous cracks or slippery standing water. And right now, Nature Stone has this special offer on a beautiful, durable Nature Stone floor. See ya.
Nature Stone, the only concrete solution.
Yeah. The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education program has been recognizing students and teachers who shine both in and out of the classroom since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com and click on Supporting Education. Students in kindergarten through 12th grade are eligible to be academic all-stars. K through 12 teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible to be honored as the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education, where stars shine.
This is it. Your big break. Your one shot. Your only chance. There are two outcomes. Make history or be history.
The home of high school sports. Spectrum Sports. Exclusively on Spectrum.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Now he shoots it!
What you live for lives here. We are Spectrum Sports, exclusively on Spectrum.
Welcome back to Friday Night Huddle. I'm Dave Bacon along with Chris Fedor and Nate Cline from cleveland.com, and it has gone final. The Eastlake North Rangers win. They beat Chardon, so they are in the playoffs for the first time in school history. Awesome. Snapping up one of those eligible spots in that region. So congratulations to the Eastlake North Rangers. Good stuff.
It's such a great story. Great story.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, we're going to, definitely be recapping that over the weekend. And some of our previews, we're going to be getting ready for Sunday when the announcement comes out officially. But yeah, Eastlake North and a number of other teams are going to be making their first visits to the playoffs. But Eastlake North, definitely doing in the fashion the way they did. It's pretty exciting for them.
Yeah, I think that's what's so impressive is how they did it. A win against Brush, a win tonight against Chardon, a win against Mayfield. We're talking about three teams right there that are either 500 records or above. So to finish the year on a 5-game winning streak and having no margin for error whatsoever, and for them to get it done, I think that tells you a lot about where the program is going, and I think it tells you a lot about the kids that they already have.
Well, you mentioned Mayfield. We're going to check in with our student reporter, John Catalano, a halftime report from Mayfield and Riverside. Take it away, John.
All right, so we're back, halftime, scored 29-7, Mayfield's winning. Some pretty good plays. Down to Pippo had a little 100-yard pick six. Pretty cool. What else happened? I don't really remember. Michael Huss had 4 touchdowns. That was pretty cool. Here's Vince. Vince, what do you have to think about the game so far?
Okay, the game is lit, all right? That's what to say.
All right.
Halloween theme for the band. That's pretty nice.
All right. Well, I'm just really hoping that we can pull it out. I think we're going to do well. I think we might score a couple more. So, yeah, I'll talk to you guys at the end of the game.
All right, John Catalano. Gotta love our student reporters.
Was the game? It's lit. That's right. It's lit. That's the best
You're not allowed to say
description that he
that.
could have.
We're old when we say that. That's what they say.
And we figured out the whole buffalo
Exactly.
hat thing. It's Halloween themed night. Okay, it wasn't because they were confused by the mascot. Good to know.
There you go.
Yeah.
Not spoken like a 35, 40-year-old guy at all there, Chris. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were talking about Mayfield, just their situation right now,
Yeah.
trying to get a playoff spot. So, I mean, obviously they got to fight to try to, if they want to earn one. So, but yeah, hopefully on a Halloween theme night, they might have a good chance to do that. So.
Well, you know what? You know, they hang on and win. They're certainly in that mix. So, you know, with North winning, they claim one of those spots.
Right.
But there is still one, maybe even two up for grabs. It depends. And North could move up from that 7th spot as well. So it'll be interesting to see. Again, we won't know for sure until all the games are finished on Saturday. It basically depends on who you beat and what they do in Week 10.
Yeah, and if you're Garfield Heights, you're probably biting your nails right now.
Yep.
You won the other night against Normandy in impressive fashion, but now you just have to sit and wait. And because they played last night as opposed to tonight, it's one extra night that they've had to sit around and wait.
Sitting there
and
looking
just
at scores,
anticipate.
going, oh, no.
And the Western Reserve Conference has to be pretty proud right now because they're going to have potentially 3 teams in from their conference, including Brush, Mayfield potentially here, and then also East Lake North, who's going to be making their first visit as well.
So, you know, good stuff. And you know, we kind of alluded to it. Stow with that game well in hand. Now sitting to see, you know, can we sneak up and get one of those home games? Can we certainly at least move out of the 7th spot, get up to 6 or 5 even? And again, they won't know for certain until that Massillon-McKinley game tomorrow, as McKinley's one of those teams that is in the mix for that 4, 5, 6 spot as well. So interesting times as we are in the final weekend of the regular season. Playoffs coming up next week. And, you know, an interesting dynamic is all of the playoff games for the first time are moved to Friday nights.
Right.
So everybody will be playing. Everybody will kick it off at 7:30, and everybody will keep it going.
It's going to be a long night. It's going to be a very busy night. I mean, you know, we were just even picturing this when the news came out last, I believe it was maybe even during the off season, I believe it was, that all the games were going to be moved to Fridays. And, you know, there's been a lot of conversations just about that, but just to have all those games on a Friday, boy, that's going to be a lot of work in the newsrooms. There's going to be a lot of parents right now that I'm sure they're going to be on the phones and trying to keep their phones charged to keep up with how teams are doing and maybe some of their family members as well.
Well, another game that we are tracking is Bay, as they try to finish off a perfect 10-0 season and do it for the first time in school history. Our student reporter, Matt Goul, has head coach Ron Rutt. Take it away, Matt.
Thanks, guys. I am here with the head coach of the undefeated Bay High Rockets, Mr. Ron Rutt. So, Coach Rutt, what is it like to be the first team ever to go undefeated in school history?
Oh, man, it feels great. It feels great. This group of guys, they've worked their butts off, and couldn't be more proud of them, and they deserve this.
So what do you guys want to accomplish heading into the playoffs next week?
You know, we're like we've done all season long. We're going to take it 1 week at a time, and we're going to prepare for our next opponent and give them the best fight that we can.
Thank you, Mr. Rutt, for your time, and congrats on a great season.
Thank you, boss.
Thank you.
All right, Matt Goul, obviously a happy Ron Rutt. They are undefeated for the first time in school history.
That's awesome. Kudos to them. And it coincides with me moving to that city, so I think
you're undefeated.
I think that's all I can say. I brought the good vibes with me.
No, Ron. I mean, Coach Rutt. I'm sure he's got to be pretty excited about the situation they're in right now. And I don't know if anybody noticed. I love seeing the rocket in the background as well. I don't know if you all caught that. But yeah, I mean, Bay's in a very good situation right now after last year having to face TCC because they came in last in the region. Yep. They're in a good spot to be able to host the first round there at least, and you know, try to make a run out of this. So, you know, congratulations to the Bay Rockets, also the Great Lakes Conference champs as well.
And I mean, think about that. That's what it takes for a team like Bay to get a home game in the first round, and that's what it takes to avoid some of these really, really tough matchups that Nate was talking about. Is that you got to go 9-1, you got to go 10-0, and that's the reward. Obviously, you're the first ever team that goes undefeated, but now you start to feel like, hey, there's a path for us to making a longer postseason trek than there was even last year.
And you know what? We got to say, well done. Matt Goul has been one of our student reporters all year and has done a great job. So, Matt Goul, Nice job, as he has interviewed Ron Rutt after a number of the games. 10-0, Bay Village. Congratulations to the Bay Rockets. Let's check in on the phone. Joining us is Dan Gilles from that Strongsville Brunswick game. And Dan, I imagine the second half was pretty quick in that one.
Extremely quick, which is good news for me as I try to write.
So Strongsville just impressive, I'm guessing.
Absolutely impressive on both sides of the football. And like I said, the game was essentially over at halftime. So, you know, with the running clock in the second half, they just kind of messed around and did a few trick plays, but didn't exactly try to put the ball more in the end zone. You know what I'm saying? So it was, but yeah, the defense forced 3 turnovers all night. Brunswick could not get much going at all. Offensively, I mean, you score in your first 6 possessions and 6 out of 7 in the first half. I mean, you're doing something correct, and conceivably could have added 1 more in the second half, but on 4th down from the 3, they kind of just ran right into the line and went down. So,
first winning season since 2014 for Strongsville. Dan, can you speak to the importance of what you think that means to head coach Lou Serino?
Extremely important. Lou talked a lot about after the game about how they ended this season on a 4-game winning streak. Had a couple close losses early on to some really good teams in Hudson and Euclid. And how at the time after those games he knew they were close, but you know, obviously they were playing some better opponents. But something just clicked. You know, they go into this offseason now 6-4. Like I said, on a 4-game win streak. You know, with a first-year coach, a first-year coaching staff, you know, a lot of juniors now returning. He feels really good about the program now and the direction that it's heading, and they just wish that they could keep going now. You know, they wish they could have had a chance to play in Week 11, but unfortunately the computer points are what they are. But you know, hats off to Strongsville on the turnaround that they've made, and you know, look out for them next year. I think they have a really good shot to make some noise in the Greater Cleveland Conference.
Dan, Taylor Griffin, you said had about 137 yards in the first half. What was he your favorite fantasy player for the night?
Yeah, he would have been. He actually didn't get the ball at all in the second half, but the damage was done there in the first half. I mean, you know, and had he not kind of run out of gas inside the 20, he could have had a 97-yard touchdown run right before the end of the first half, and the score really would have been lopsided. But yeah, they really didn't have to rely on him too much tonight. Johnny Major did a lot of damage through the air, but when they needed a big first down, they gave the ball to Taylor, and he was able to pick up some big yardage for them and added a touchdown on the ground. I mean, just an all-around effort. I mean, the offensive line really did a good job for Strongsville, opening some holes, keeping those guys their white jerseys dry, and they were able to exploit it, make some big plays.
Dan Gilles, we appreciate it. 41-0, Strongsville, impressive as they beat Brunswick to finish the year 6-4. So that's the way you want to end. You want to end with a winning streak, something to build on, especially Lou Serino, reasonably new there, second-year, third-year head coach. So that's all good stuff.
Yeah, and their only losses were against 7-2 Hudson, 9-1 Menor, 5-4 Solon, 7-2 Euclid coming into tonight. So when you're a team like Strongsville, those are the challenges that you're going to have to face each and every year, but you feel like you're building to a point where now you can hang with those teams, and maybe you can even beat those teams going into next year. A 4-game winning streak to finish out the year when you won 2 games the year before, that's huge in terms of confidence going into next year.
It's especially important when it's a new program, and you want to look at something. Look at Wadsworth last year. That's similar to what they did. Now, I know they lost one of their last 4, but they had a run where they played really well in consecutive games to end the year, and they come back and, you know, they're on the verge of an undefeated season, and they're going to, unless something drastic happens in the second half, over at Hudson. They're going to get that undefeated season.
Yeah, and I really like this Mustangs football team, you know, but just, you know, the kind of the buzzsaw that they have to kind of go through, especially, you know, playing in the Greater Cleveland Conference with, oh, I don't know, Solon, Euclid, Mentor, you know, so, you know, somebody's going to have to draw the losing straw there. So Strongsville, you know, just the way they finished off, you know, hats off to them. Also something for a great read for you is to check out how Lou was actually staying in touch with some of his players using Snapchat. Was pretty interesting stories. So
look at that, a coach that knows how to use Snapchat.
Oh,
it's the way to communicate nowadays. You got it.
All
advance.
the high school coaches know how to use
exactly
Snapchat
right.
because their players use it, and you want to monitor what they're doing, so to speak.
Yep.
So
evolve or perish. That's the
exactly.
way it goes.
I mean, look, you know, look at what Jim Harbaugh does recruiting-wise. That's what it is.
Exactly right.
So, you know, the interesting thing is that's one of the steps in building a program. You find out how to put things together. Now, it was a little late for this year, but don't for a second think that you're not pointing to that when you start your off-season program, when you start your weight room. It's, guys, we won our last 4. Yep. You know, you need to go and lift an extra, you know, you need to do a couple extra sets because we want another win, and then we're in the playoffs.
You know, and something in preparing for, you know, tonight's show, I was looking at Strongsville and just how they fared against teams. You know, the number of points that they were putting on the scoreboard was very close to how many points they were giving up in games as well. So that's one area that they're going to have to trim up is just, you know, the defense and how much they're allowing. But again, we talked about some of the opponents that they're faced as well. You know, some very challenging teams, some very tough teams. But, you know, Strongsville has something to build on right now. And like I said, you know, like we were joking earlier, just the whole Snapchat, I think, you know, the kids are a little bit more intrigued about staying in touch with coach and playing football.
Especially with that offense. I think you make a point, Nate, about where their defense needs to get to. And that's probably the next step for the program is the defense has to catch up. But if you think about 2016 for Strongsville, they were shut out twice, and they only put up 7 in a loss against Brunswick last year. So how far have you come from there? 41 tonight against that Brunswick team, and you didn't get shut out by any opponent. So you're looking for these baby steps of things that you can hang on to. And for Strongsville to have the explosive offense that they do now, one that's able to put up 41 points against Brunswick, I think that shows how far they've come from an offensive standpoint.
And also should be of note, I mean, you know, the coach and the players shouldn't feel bad where they are right now, because if you think about some of the teams who have coaches who have 1 year or 2 years under their belt right now going into the playoffs, that's a good sign for them saying, hey, look, we could be one of those teams if we just clean up, you know, X, Y, and Z. Yep. So Strongsville, you know, don't hang your heads about this. Great sign right now where they are.
Well, if you're just joining us, where you been? I mean, we've already had Glenville secure their spot in the 2017 state playoffs. And we've also had East Lake North secure their spot in the 2017 state playoffs. And it's the first time ever that the Rangers will be a part of the postseason in Division II. So, guys, as we start to move forward, interesting, you know, Barberton, Wadsworth, two teams looking like they're definitely going to finish off really impressive undefeated seasons. And they're 2 of the top 5 teams in the state in Division II.
Yeah, a complete change from last year's champions from last year in the national division. Stow and Hudson held the national title, and then you had Aurora who had the American division. Yep. Now, a year later, Aurora beat this team twice last year, couldn't come up with a win against Barberton this year, and they beat them, and now they're going to be winning the American Division title. And on the other hand, the Wadsworth Grizzlies, you know, get on the wagon with them if you haven't already. I'm there in the back. So, and you know, right now, I mean, they've got some very tough squads, you know, both offensively and defensively right now. So the Suburban League, you know, watch out in the playoffs because they're coming.
Yeah, you kind of got to turn sideways because you're the last one onto the bus. We were driving that bus a little early. Actually, you were driving the bus for a while. I was on it at the beginning, but you've been driving it home going, Nate, where you at, Nate?
Hello.
Grizzlies calling.
Yeah.
But no, deservingly so. I mean, they moved up in the rankings. They moved up in the cleveland.com rankings as well as the state rankings. So,
yeah,
you know,
just
excited
in the
to see
state,
them.
And you know, with pretty good reason. They're a pretty good football team. Well, you know, earlier in the night we heard from Ted Ginn as his Glenville Tarblooders secured their spot in the state playoffs. And, you know, we were talking before the show, Nate, Ted's become a little bit of a celebrity. He's in a Stouffer's commercial. Let's take a look at Ted Ginn with Stow.
At the table, nobody talks about football. I like to teach them there's more important things in life. My name is Ted Ginn. I eat Stouffer's lasagna, and I hunger to coach athletes into men. Stouffer's, what are you hungry for?
Well, there you have it. You know, that's a message that's pretty consistent with Ted as far as, you know.
I think that's a really good point, too, because as much as we're talking about Glenville getting into the postseason and what it means and the fact that sometimes when they get into the postseason, they shoot themselves in the foot with penalties and turnovers and sometimes weird play calls at the wrong time, those things are real, and they have had issues with that. But Ted Ginn Sr. has always said, like, my program is so much more than just playoff wins and success in the Senate League. It's taking these kids out of terrible situations and giving them an outlet, giving them football, and allowing them to do these kinds of things that they love and turning these kids into men and using football as the avenue for that.
Yeah, and the guys that I talked to after the commercial, I mean, they were really excited about it. And I gave Coach an opportunity. I said, what was the pregame meal that you had said? And I know he likes chicken, but I know and he said it. I didn't, you know, he said it.
He said the chicken isn't going to make it out of here, is what he said.
It's like Stouffer's lasagna is great, man, but chicken.
But you know, but just on the commercial matter, I mean, you know, he enjoyed being able to take the players to be able to go shoot that commercial. They shot it last month. And the guys talked to me; they were really excited about it. But as for football's concerned, you know, he has an opportunity to, you know, cap off this 200 win season, 200 career wins this season, and try to make some noise in the playoffs. And it looks like it may have to start with either one of those Toledo Central Catholics or Padua. So
you know, the funny thing is we talked to him after he won his 200th game, and he said he didn't know it. I guarantee you that's true. He has no. He's not the type of guy that sits there and counts his win. He's more concerned about what are my kids doing? What are the kids that come through the program? Do we have them headed down the right path? And it's legitimate. It's been that message forever.
I can remember the two questions that I asked him, and he always kind of gave me that look, are you kidding me, Nate? I asked him one about his record. I'm like, do you know where you are in your record? And he's like, well, I don't know, Nate. And then the second question was, I'm like, hey, how many players do you think that you've come from your program that have gone on to play in the pro leagues? And he was like, oh, I don't know, Nate. So, but exactly to your point,
right?
You know, he's really following what these kids are doing after they leave Ginn Academy or Glenville or that area and how they're doing.
And when we talked to him earlier tonight and we said, hey, what's next for you? How are you going to prepare for whoever your opponent is going to be now that you're in the postseason? He said, number one, kids have to be to school on time. And number two, they have to be to practice on time.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the structure that he has built there. Yeah. And those are the things that he values.
And, you know, we'll take it a little bit of a step further. Glenville has, I think it's the third or fourth most players currently playing in the NFL of any high school in the country. Now, the first one is St. Thomas Aquinas in Florida, and they've got something ridiculous like 13. And the guys, you look at that and it's like, whoa, these guys all came from and Glenville is, you know, in that next pack, and I believe it's third or fourth most in the country. So that's all Ted Ginn. That's not anybody other than Ted Ginn.
Yeah, and while we're kind of talking about the pros in Northeast Ohio right now, I guess we probably just need to add some plugs in right now to make sure you follow Mitchell Trubisky, Travis Kelce from the Kansas City Chiefs, and right now who's leading the league, I believe, in rushing right now is Kareem Hunt who used to play for Willoughby South. I mean, you know, there's some talent coming from Northeast Ohio that you need to make sure you keep an eye out for. So.
And you know what? They all stay connected to their alma maters. You'll see on the High School Sports Insider that follows this show, Travis Kelce was back at Cleveland Heights and tweeted out himself talking to the team. Yeah. So that's great to see, though.
Of course.
None of these guys have ever forgot where they come from, which is important.
I think one of the great stories, I think it was a couple weeks ago, Travis Kelce had scored a touchdown, and they asked him, like, hey, you know, where'd you learn how to do that dance?
Cleveland Heights.
Say Cleveland Heights.
Cleveland Heights. That's where you learned to dance. That's right. One of those mixers.
Yeah. So... You know what? Congratulations to them for getting that done. The scary part is I remember all these kids when they were in high school. That's a frightening thing. Frightening thing. The other thing that is always nice to see, and we've touched on it a little bit, when a team makes it to the state playoffs for the first time, and there will be several of them. We know for certain the East Lake North Rangers are in the playoffs, led there by a guy that is from East Lake North, was coaching at Gilmore, took the job a couple of years ago and turned the program around. It's good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you talk about the kids that have gone through there, and probably at times, because they haven't been to the postseason, you know, the butt of jokes. The team that couldn't beat Willoughby South or that other team in that area. Now they can say that we've been to the postseason, and we talked about it. Who knows what's going to happen once they get to the postseason, but they've got absolutely nothing to lose, and they can play free going into their postseason matchup. And for them to finish on a 5-game winning streak and not have any margin for error whatsoever and get to the postseason, I think that speaks to the program that they're building there.
And you mentioned that, so let's talk to the guy that is building that program. Sean Dodd joins us on the phone. Coach, first of all, congratulations. Welcome to the playoffs. What did you tell your guys?
Thank you very much. Just told them how proud we are of them. The journey's been unbelievable. You know, when we were 1-4, we were a hair away from going 1-9, and these guys were able to run the table. It's a special group of kids.
What was there a turning point that you saw in the season? I know you had a really close game against a Kenston team that was really good in that losing streak. At what point did you kind of see everything kind of take shape with this group?
Right in the Riverside game, when we were finally able to get a victory after starting off 1-4, and 15 guys out with injuries, and some of these seniors really stepped up playing two ways and had to bounce around some positions and take on a bigger role than what we thought going into the season. And a lot of underclassmen that really stepped up as well. So it was just a tremendous team effort. But at that point, we thought, oh, okay, maybe we'll see what we can get going, and then it just kind of continued on from there. These kids they're a special group of kids.
Sean, you took the job. You were at Gilmore. You took the job at your alma mater. How special is it to lead them to their first playoff appearance in school history?
Oh, it's pretty special. You know, being an alum is pretty awesome, and we've got a lot of guys on staff that are alum. Some of my teammates, guys I've coached with at other places. Having my son on the team, guys I've coached since they were 5 years old. It's just, you know, it's more than just me being an alum that makes it special. There's a lot going on here that makes it really special.
Sean, you talked about starting 1-4 and being able to finish the season on a 5-game winning streak to get into the postseason. What do you like most about this group of kids that you have?
Their character. Their character is unbelievable. These guys do a fantastic job in the classroom. They do a great job in the community. I think we have over 40 guys over a 3.0. They're just outstanding young men, and I couldn't be more proud of a group of kids.
Coach Dodd, this is going to be the third team from the Western Reserve Conference that's going to be in that region competing in the playoffs. Would you kind of just explain for viewers, you know, the makeup of these teams like Brush, yourself, and also
Kenston?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think everybody's pretty comparable talent-wise. You know, you look at enrollment, everybody's very close. You look at proximity. You know, we're close geographically, so there's not much travel. And so you're looking at similar communities, similar neighborhoods, similar type of kids. And every year you can go, you know, you can go 8, 9, 10 years in a row and have somebody different winning it every single year. And it's unbelievable coaching. I think there's a lot of parity. You know, this year was, you know, kind of shows that everybody was beating each other throughout the whole thing. It's a gauntlet. It's a grind, but man, it's a lot of fun.
Hey, Sean, what did that win against Brush do? Especially, you held that offense that was putting up all kinds of points. I think you held them to 13. What did that do for your team, just beating an opponent like that, and especially holding an offense that was really high-powered and had put a lot of points on the board, holding an offense in check?
Yeah, our defense has been playing great all year. Even when we were struggling, we had some troubles on offense with turnovers, and special teams were hurting us quite a bit. And the defense, you know, the scores don't show it because we're giving them some points on in different areas with offense and special teams. But defense has played pretty well, so we had a lot of belief in them going into the game. But it was a huge confidence boost to be able to get that win against Brush when they were scoring points like a video game, and the quarterback was going off like like you'd see in a video game. It was a huge confidence boost after that. After that game, we were like, huh, what do we got going on here? It was pretty neat to see.
Sean, you go into tonight's game against Chardon, a perennial playoff team, and if you win, you're in the postseason. If you lose, you're not. How did your players handle that pressure?
Oh, they were unbelievable. You wouldn't even know it. I mean, they literally, this streak has been them just, they look like little kids out there. They're dancing in practice. They're having fun. They're goofing around. We talk all the time. I got from my head coach, Dan Gilles, I said, keep them loose but not loosey-goosey. And these guys, we just look as coaches like, man, these guys are just dialed in. They get it. So it's been a lot of fun to coach these guys. It's been very, very enjoyable. They're just locked in, and they're just having fun. They're not intimidated by anybody. They're not cocky. They're just a bunch of high school kids that have grown up together and enjoying the heck out of this.
Sean, you started your first year, I believe you were 0-10, 4-6 last year, in the playoffs this year. Is that kind of the blueprint, or did it happen maybe even a little quicker than you thought it might?
Well, we were 3-7 first year, 3-7,
okay.
4-6, and now the playoffs. No, I think you always go in with the expectations that you're going to have success and that you're going to win. As far as playoffs and that type of thing, I didn't really have an expectation of when we would get there. Every year you go in expecting that. Our first year we expected to get in. We had some talented kids. It took them a while to adjust. They had 3 different head coaches in 3 years, and this group's now had us for 3 years in a row. Any earlier or later, I really don't have an answer for that. We kind of go in with that expectation every year and just kind of let the season play out.
Coach Dodd, now that the team is in the playoffs, anything special on planning for Week 11, or are you going to just kind of keep it to the same routine?
No, we'll keep it to the same routine. I'm fortunate that I was there when I was an assistant at Euclid. We got in the playoffs when I was at NDCL as an assistant. We were able to make it my last 2 years at Gilmore as a head coach there. So as a staff, we have a lot of playoff experience. But no, we're just going to keep it the same. It's another high school football game. The rules don't change. The field dimensions are the same, so we're just going to go about our business like we've done the last several weeks.
Coach Dow, we appreciate the time. Thanks so much. Congratulations. Good luck next week. And
thank you.
Congratulate your kids for us, too. Really
yes,
happy
I
for
will. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much, and thanks for the interest in the program. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach Dodd. Again, Eastlake North in the playoffs for the first time in school history. Love that. And again, Sean Dodds leading his alma mater into the playoffs for the first time. Well, a guy that has done that last year for the first time since the mid-'90s is Anthony Gatto over at Barberton. He is an alum, and the Magic finish off a perfect 10-0 season. Ryan Isley caught up with Coach Gatto and files this report.
Coach, when you took over this program, did you ever envision a 10-0 regular season?
I mean, you aspire for great things. I knew coming here, it was kind of funny because about 8-9 years ago, before I even got here, me and Coach Ford kind of thought down the road that would be, kind of a special place to be. We knew that there was so much talent here in Barberton. Great group of guys. They bought into what we're doing, and they let us. These seniors are very special. I hope these young guys learn from them. The great thing is it's not over. It's not over.
Coach, every time I ask you about an individual player this season, you divert and you say it's a group effort. You love that kid, but I love all my kids.
For sure.
Tonight seemed like a complete group effort for this program.
And I think they did the same thing. I listen to Zane talk. I love when he talks about the defense. Even though he's one of the best offensive players around, this year was about being unselfish and playing great team football. I love these guys, man.
It's good to be 10-0.
Yeah.
It's good to be 10-0.
So I guess they ended the interview?
Yeah.
I guess they
what
did.
a way to end it.
I'm like, I thought he might shift back to the Zane. Can I get a response? But no, I guess not.
That's Barberton's mic drop right there.
That's the American Division champions right there. So congratulations.
10-0. So yeah, it's good. It's good to lead your alma mater to 10-0, and one of the top rankings. Currently second in that region, and same region as Hoban, so it's Division II, Region 5. But congratulations to them. There were a couple of hurdles that they wanted to get over. Aurora, Copley, they got over them. They played St. V. They beat Highland in week 10. So any challenge that was thrown in front of them, they hurdled and kind of smashed it. So they should feel really good about what they're doing going into week 11 in the playoffs.
And Coach Gatto was right. It was a complete team effort all season long for this team. An offense that averages 43 points per game. They've got the triplets that we've talked about offensively. And then defensively, the most they gave up, 20. They did it twice, once against Cuyahoga Falls and the other time against Copley. So, yes, that's how he had to build this thing, and that's why it means so much to him when some of his players talk about the other players on the roster and the other components, because when you're in the postseason, you're not just going to win based on offense. You're going to have the offense, the defense, and the special teams, especially if you want to compete with a team like Hoban.
Well, we are going to step aside and take a timeout as week 10, the regular season, coming to an end. There will be some games on Saturday, but the Friday night in regular season play is wrapping things up, and we will continue here on Friday Night Huddle along with Chris Fedor and Nathaniel Cline from cleveland.com. I'm Dave Bacon. Friday Night Huddle on Spectrum Sports and cleveland.com. We'll be right back.
Met Battle Events.
Have you ever lived for something? Have you ever dreamt of something? Something more? Something special? Something bigger than yourself? Well, have you? This is what you live for!
Home of high school sports, Spectrum Sports, exclusively on Spectrum. Lives here. We are Spectrum Sports, exclusively on Spectrum.
Hi, Mother Nature here. I guess you could slap some paint on your cracked, ugly concrete garage floor. But seriously, that's hiding the problem, not fixing it. Get a Nature Stone floor instead for the perfect permanent solution to your garage floor problems. No more dangerous cracks or slippery standing water. And right now, Nature Stone has this special offer on a beautiful, durable Nature Stone floor. See ya.
Nature Stone, the only concrete solution.
Yeah.
The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education program has been recognizing students and teachers who shine both in and out of the classroom since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com and click on Supporting Education. Students in kindergarten through 12th grade are eligible to be academic all-stars. K through 12 teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible to be honored as the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education, where stars shine.
This is it. Your big break. your one shot. Your only chance. There are two outcomes. Make history or be history.
The home of high school sports. Spectrum Sports. Exclusively on Spectrum.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. A long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Lives here. We are Spectrum Sports, exclusively on Spectrum.
Regular season is wrapping up throughout Ohio, and we're going to take a look at the plays that kind of turned heads. They need one more look, the top 15 plays of Week 10, as we take a look at the top 15 plays. Number 15 from Barberton, it's the quarterback, Zane Rees, and he's thrown to his big play wide receiver, Garrett Turnbow, 20 yards for the touchdown. More from this game a little later on.
Number 14, Olmsted Falls, Teddy Grenzinski, hooking up with Braden Galaska. They don't throw often, but when they do, it's effective. Here he is, 34-yard touchdown off the screen pass. Olmsted Falls wins big, 49-7 over North Olmsted.
At number 13, check out Pickerington North's Tyler Potts with the pick 6. More to come from this game.
Checking in at number 12, Eastlake North. Brett Payne fights in with a short touchdown run. North wins 28-7. They make the playoffs for the first time in school history.
Moving on, this is number 11. It's Franklin's Braden Woods. Dropping back, he's a lefty, fires it deep downfield. This is Jared Kinzer, who goes up, high points the ball, 52-yard score. More from these two later on.
At number 10, check out Stow's Corian Rice with the 20-yard touchdown run. And if you look carefully, you might see him give an eye to the Brecksville Bees. More from this game later.
Number 9, Berea-Midpark's Trevor Bazinski. He wants to throw, and he does. David Browning grabs it, spins, dives into the end zone, 19-yard touchdown, but they lost 60-35 to Avon.
Moving on, number 8, remember Franklin's Braden Woods to Jared Kinzer? How about again? Dropping back, looking to throw over the middle. There's Kinzer again, hauling it in, breaks a tackle, goes back middle. Another touchdown. Franklin wins 24-21.
From number 7 to number 7, check out Medina's Anthony Lobato with a pick 6. Oh yeah.
Tip drill.
More from this game later.
Down Columbus way, number 6, Pickerington North, Jimmy Wyrick. Oh, look at that one. Drops it in. What a grab by Chris Scott. 55 yards for the touchdown. Pickerington North won 35-16.
Another look. What a move there at the end of it. Number 5, Brecksville's Joe Labus hooking up with Jordan Shaheen.
Ooh, what
there
did he just do?
Look at that catch.
Oh,
ready?
My goodness.
Yep. One hand. Sticky gloves nowadays. That wasn't a touchdown, but the catch was still worthy of top play. Stow got the win 28-6 over Brecksville.
He Odell'd it.
All right, number 4, Medina's Dylan Foltz with the 76-yard touchdown run. Take a look at this. More to come with those yards in this game later.
The guy's breaking into the second level tonight.
Number 3, Joey Football. Wadsworth's Joey Boffman through the hole. Joey Boffman into the open. and gone. 83 yards for the touchdown. 49-35, Wadsworth defeats Hudson.
Number 2, we knew this one would be in the top 15. This is Barberton's Jeff Parker taking the handoff up the middle. Looks like he stopped, right? Not so fast. There's Parker plowing his way into the end zone, moving the pile. 10-yard touchdown run. The Magics win 48-14 over Highland.
All right, in their season finale, number 1, Solon's J.T. Caver connects with Thomas Wilkes for this 41-yard touchdown. But the Comets fell to Medina.
What the moves?
38-28. Take a look at this.
5?
About 65 yards on that touchdown.
Yeah,
70 yards on that touchdown.
Yep. So, time to vote.
So, you can go on to cleveland.com.
I got my vote.
Which one you voting for?
The one-handed grab. Are you kidding me?
He Odell'd it.
Yeah.
They call it Odelling it.
That's exactly right.
You know, but I got to give the acting award here to I think it was Franklin's that caught the touchdown pass, and the defender just said, "I give up," and he just laid down on the ground. I don't know if you remember that, but yeah, I don't know. I think I'll give the acting award for that one.
So you can go on to cleveland.com and vote. Didn't agree with what I ate, for dinner. Cleveland.com, and you can vote starting at noon tomorrow and through noon on Thursday.
Come on, Brecksville. Show up. Show up. One-handed catch. It was the best 4-yard, 5-yard game that I've seen all year.
Well, the other thing we saw is 49-35, so Hudson rallied a little bit, but 49 points. Not quite at their 51-point average, so the defense kind of bowed up and held them under 50.
The defending...
You got nothing for that,
Yeah,
huh?
no, I guess the defending Suburban League champions, co-champions along with Stow, try to give it a valiant effort, but Wadsworth, I mean, they've been on a mission. Obviously, everyone did know from week 1, but, hats off to the Grizzlies for capturing that title tonight against the Explorers. So,
yeah.
Comments?
I'm not giving them the basket of muffins for holding Wadsworth under 50 when it's 49. I'm sorry, Dave. I'm not doing it. It's basically 50. I don't think they're going to be walking around Hudson all chesty we held them under 50. I don't think so.
The one thing you probably will see is nobody wants any part of Barberton or Wadsworth in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah.
Those are two teams that have played extremely well every week of the season, and there's no reason to think that won't continue in week 11.
It's not a situation where you want to write off teams because crazy things happen in the postseason, but you just feel like you have an understanding of what Barberton is and what they're going to be capable of in the postseason, and the same thing when it comes to Wadsworth. So again, upsets happen all the time in the postseason, but it just feels like there are certain teams in Division II that have separated themselves from the rest of the group.
Yeah, and you mentioned the upsets. Look no further than last year in Region 6, where every higher-ranked team, 1, 2, 3, and 4, all lost to 5, 6, 7, and 8. And that's, you don't have to look any further. And the top seed was Avon in that last year, and they lost to Avon Lake, who they beat a couple weeks earlier. So certainly, upsets always happen in the playoffs.
And I'm just kind of looking forward. Nothing is set in stone, but we could very well get Olmsted Falls v. Midview again in the first round of the postseason.
Yeah, absolutely. But if it's anything like last year and how that whole Avon Lake played out last year, I wonder if this is going to be something else that's going to sneak up on Avon again with the Bulldogs. So, but here's the funny thing. Earlier you were talking about the whole Barberton and Wadsworth situation. Even though they're great teams, they're not the #1 teams in their region, which is scary to think. You got Hoban and Avon there, but no, you're absolutely right. That Southwestern Conference matchup, we could see that again already to start the playoffs. So,
and the other thing is what about the job Medina did? That's a team that didn't. They're playing for pride, and they came out and that's a heck of a job by the Medina Bees.
They were on my pride list for tonight. I mean, Strongsville had to get a win tonight. They needed some pride. Medina needs some pride, especially after how the season opened for them and how all that kind of trickled down. So, congratulations to Medina for them. And just like Strongsville, I mean, they're going to have to go back and see what it is that they did right and what it is they did wrong. And if it's just something, with personnel that they need to fix, they need to do that as well. So.
Well, our Jeff Szabo was at the game and had a chance to talk to the Medina Bees, who come away with a win in Week 10 over Solon. Take it away, Jeff.
Dylan, your team came in with a 3-6 record. You finished 4-6. Offensively, you guys found different ways to move the ball. What really helped you guys out there?
I'd probably have to start with our offensive line. Our offensive line did great, and then my receivers running great routes.
And then a lot of those receivers, they really did a great job of getting open. Do you think that really helped your team out the most?
Yes, especially when I would scramble out, and then I knew where my guys would be because we had great chemistry.
Now, did your team ever panic at all in the huddle, or did you guys ever think Solon was just going to take this one away?
No, we just stayed calm. We played with poise the whole game.
And then your team faced a lot of adversity this year. What really kept you guys together on the last home stretch?
That we're a family and that we all care about each other.
All right, and it really seemed like you guys were a pretty cohesive unit. What really helped with that?
I think it was just our team bonding that we always have, how we always hang out with each other, and just good chemistry.
All right, Dylan, that was very apparent throughout tonight's game. Congratulations, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Larry, your team came into this game 3-6. You're going to finish this season 4-6 overall with a victory over Solon. Take us through what really helped out your team throughout the game.
Well, I thought the biggest thing was that our team stuck together. It would have been easy to fold the tents 5 weeks ago, and our kids didn't do that. We battled throughout the last 5 games. Overcoming the adversity of the turnovers early was big for us. Our defense played lights out. Our offensive line were very physical and executed the game plan perfectly.
And then it really seemed like you were able to find different ways to move the ball. You had Dylan Fultz. You definitely had a lot of your wide receivers. You really got creative offensively.
Yeah, when you have an athlete like Dylan back in the backfield, you can do some of those things. And we were able to capitalize on his athleticism back there.
And how do you build the program for next year?
Our kids we've got a lot of young kids coming up, and we look forward to building on this win for next year.
All right, Larry, congratulations and thank you.
All right, thanks.
All right, that was Jeff Szabo interviewing Larry Laird and Dylan Fultz. He joins us on the phone. So, Jeff, what do you think the difference was in this one?
I really think a lot of it had to do with Medina's offense. Keep in mind, Medina was on their 4th quarterback with Dylan Fultz, and Fultz, mainly a wide receiver and mainly a special teams player, they really found different ways to create momentum and really move that football up the field. They did a lot of jet sweeps up with Chris Kelly, one of the wide receivers. They found different ways to get the ball to a lot of the different wide receivers. They had a pretty good running back in that Keith Tector, where he was able to run the ball quite a bit. That offensive line, they were doing a lot of the angle blocking. They were really pushing and creating opportunities for Fultz to run at key moments. And best of all, that Medina team, they were able to convert on 3rd down. Just when you think that that Solon defense was going to come up with a stop on 3rd down, Medina was able to convert, keep drives alive, and as a result, they were able to put points up on the board in the second half when they needed it.
All right, Jeff Szabo, we appreciate the update. Good work as Medina defeats Solon in Week 10. So you heard Larry Laird, and again, he's a lot of young guys coming up, right. And that's always a good thing.
Yeah, and it's something that you can't account for this kind of experience. If you're talking about the young kids that are coming up through the program, they've got to win against Solon, and that's not a lot of Medina kids can say that sort of thing. So if you're talking about what's the best thing for them moving into 2018 and 19 is experience, and they're going to have more of it probably because of some of the adversity that they dealt with throughout the course of the year, and I think that's going to help them move forward.
Well, Mike Peticca was covering the CVCA Manchester game. Mike, what's going on with the Royals in Manchester?
Well, Manchester won 58-42, making Jim France Ohio's all-time winningest high school football coach, giving them 382 wins against 120 losses and 4 defeats. And the Panthers had to rally against a CVCA team that is one of the area's most improved this season.
As you look at it, what was the difference in? You kind of touched on it. Coach France, very understated about it. How was he when it finally became official?
Well, after the game, you know, there were presentations and a lot of picture taking, and a lot of his old players were down on the field to congratulate him. And he still tried to downplay it. He said he was relieved that, you know, he was mostly concerned about the game, and it looks like he's not going to really take that stance that, you know, that it's a remarkable achievement, but you could see it in his face that he was touched by the reaction.
What about the game? What enabled them to kind of get the win? And you mentioned CVCA, a team that very much improved.
Right. Well, Manchester was down 42-34 going into the fourth quarter, and one of the things that turned the game around was CVCA's last 3 possessions. Manchester got a good pass rush going, but the Panthers tied the game 42-42 on an Ethan Wright 2-yard touchdown run and a 2-point conversion pass from JoJo France, Jim France's grandson, to Sam Knight. That tied to 42. Then Manchester linebacker Gavin Kinsey, a couple plays later, forced a fumble and recovered it. And again, just a few plays later, Manchester took the lead 50-42. France handed off to Wright, who flipped the ball back to France, who hit Coy Schuler open at the 5 for a 33-yard touchdown pass on the flea flicker. Baker ran for a 2-point conversion. Manchester forced a punt and locked up the game on France's 16-yard touchdown run around right end on a keeper.
So, Mike, think about that. The record-setting game where you win, the win that puts you over the top as the winningest coach in OHSAA history. Your grandson's the quarterback. That's a great story right there.
Right, and JoJo France is normally a receiver and plays some defensive back. That's another part of the story. He took over after Game 7 when the starter, junior Robbie Wagner, suffered an injury, and he's had to have surgery to repair 2 vertebrae. And, you know, he has protection around his neck. He was very fortunate the injury wasn't more serious. And during all the photo taking after the game, they made a special point of getting Robbie Wagner out there right in the middle of the team, as he was such a big part of what the Panthers have been able to accomplish this year as they go on to a playoff game next week.
Mike Peticca, we appreciate it. Thanks very much. Again, Jim France from Manchester becomes the winningest coach in OHSAA history, passing Coach Lutz from Ironton. So, again, they play at Jim France Field, and he's still coaching. That's a pretty good sign that you are a legendary coach. There isn't too much more they can do other than name the field after you.
I'll tell a quick story. I went to go visit him last year around this time when we believed that he was actually going to be breaking the record, and they actually had to go back and actually check the records, which was kind of pretty interesting. So over the course of the year, I kind of had that story kind of just sitting and waiting for a while. And so finally, you know, to see that we're here at this point, congratulations to him. You know, you talked about the field being named after him. He has so many different accolades that goes along with him, but a lot of people also don't know that he's also the principal of the high school as well. So he's just doing a lot of double duties at Manchester. But just, you know, now they have an opportunity to try to see if they can make some noise in the playoffs. But just again, congratulations to the most winningest coach in Ohio.
Jim France becomes the OHSAA's winningest coach, 382 and 120. That's a pretty good winning percentage.
I don't even have one.
I think we'll take that. We'll take that.
Look, they're set up to make some noise in the Division 5 playoffs, too. They have lost 2 games, both on the road, by a combined 12 points against 2 teams that are currently 20-0.
They're pretty good.
That's it. That's the only losses.
Jim France can coach football
I think
a little bit.
so.
We're going to check in with Matt Goul. He was at the Hudson and Wadsworth game and had a chance to catch up with Joey Boffman, the quarterback for the Wadsworth Grizzlies.
Urban League champs after a 5-5 year last year. Tell me about the turnaround. What's it mean to you? It means a lot. All our hard work is paying off right now, all from the off season. So, we worked hard from day one after we lost to Hudson last year, last game of the year. So it's all paying off right now.
I know Coach mentioned everybody was getting into the weight room that next Monday afterwards.
Yeah, they were.
What do you remember about that? Because you obviously had to start wrestling.
Yeah, I was in wrestling. For sure, but I saw those guys busting their butts every day, when I was in wrestling. The weight room's right next door, so I heard them.
What did you hear? Do you remember?
Just weights clanking on the ground and stuff, yeah.
What else do you think has been the key to this team's success and this turnaround from a year ago?
I think we're a lot closer this year than we were last year. I think we're all playing hard for each other, every play and every game. So I think that's really helped us a lot.
What's it like for you out there this year?
It's awesome. I love it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
These guys are awesome, so I love it.
Tell me about some of your teammates and what they've meant to you on this run.
They mean everything. I can't do anything without them, and, they make working hard at practice easy because, it's so fun working hard with them, and I love them.
What do you like better, running the football or throwing the football? Because you look like you're having a lot more fun running it out there.
Yeah, it was fun running tonight, and that was kind of the game plan. So I like them both, though.
Okay, so you mentioned fantasy football numbers.
Yeah.
Joey Boffman had 19 carries, 245 yards, and 5 touchdowns rushing.
Woo.
He also threw for 274 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Wow.
And that was against a team that was the Suburban League champs that had gone to the state semifinals the last couple of years.
All right, so I'm trying to do the quick math now. So that's nearly 1,250 on the ground this year.
5 more touchdowns.
5 more touchdowns. So that's 17 touchdowns on the ground.
274 passing.
So that's 2,600 yards passing.
And 2 more touchdowns.
And 30 touchdowns through the air. So he has accounted for 47 touchdowns in the 10 games for Wadsworth. I think they're pretty happy that he decided to play some football.
Well, he played football last year. You heard him kind of chanting in the background, Joey football. Coach Todd kind of shared with us that that's what they call him in Wadsworth. So I think that's a pretty good reason.
I mean, think about it. At the beginning of the summer, he's in his own separate weight room, in the wrestling weight room, hearing the football players working out. It's just amazing. Absolutely amazing. What a year he's had. What a year Wadsworth has had.
And you know what? If you watch him wrestle, you would never guess that he was anything other than a wrestler. I mean, I saw him wrestle guys that were ranked in the top 10 in his weight class in the country, and he hadn't been conditioning because this is in December, right after football season. And he beat a couple of them. He finished 4th in that Ironman. I think 5th in his weight class in that Ironman tournament.
Unbelievable.
And he beat a kid from California that was ranked, I think it was 3rd in that weight class. So he's a pretty good wrestler, too. In addition to being a pretty good football player.
Look, in football, your ceiling is your head coach and your quarterback.
Yeah.
This kid can carry this program a long way, you would think, in the postseason. And it's not just him. He mentioned some of his teammates, and he mentioned the defense, and he mentioned Brock Snowball. So, but look, in football, it oftentimes it comes down to who's got the better quarterback on that day. And I bet Wadsworth feels really good every single night going in there with that guy.
Well, they should.
Yeah, I would think so.
They should. As you look at it, biggest surprise or biggest, I don't want to say surprise, biggest takeaway, something that really you look at here in week 10 and you kind of say, yeah, that's pretty good.
Well, congratulations to Coach France, but I think I'll lead off here with the Barberton Highland game. I think that was the game that I was talking about earlier, just about how they've set up this imaginary line right now of just like, hey, here's our top contenders in Division II, Region 5 and 6, and here's some of the teams who are going to have to be trying to compete with us right now. And so I think with that Barberton win against Highland, who's also in their same region, if I believe correctly, that's who they're going to be fighting for against right now. So I think that was probably one of my biggest takeaways tonight, just seeing that win against for the Magic. So congratulations to them.
Yeah, I think 2 things stand out to me. The depth of Division II. We're starting to talk about Division II, Region 5, Division II, Region 6.
And we haven't even gotten into LaSalle and Winton Woods.
They're down Cincinnati way, and they are going to be a force. There's no question about that. But we're starting to talk about some of these divisions and regions very similar to the way that we talk about Division I, Region 1. And I think that's great. And I think that's going to make for an exciting postseason. And also, I think CVCA deserves a lot of credit, as we were talking with Mike there. They're playing against Akron Manchester. and all of the hoopla surrounding that game and everything that was involved with that. And we're talking about a team that went 1-9 last year, 0-10 the year before that, 2-8 the year before that, and they're going to finish 7-3. And they had Akron and Manchester on a huge night, historic night, on the ropes for a long time in that game. So I think give a lot of credit to CVCA and the way that that program has turned around.
And that's Dan Larlam, the head coach over at CVCA. We're going to check in with Zach Harley. He was at the Avon Berea-Midpark game, had a chance to talk with the Eagles head coach, Mike Elder. Take it away, Zach.
All right, Coach Elder, division champs, 10-0. What's going through your mind right now?
Just so proud of our kids. You know, this conference is a really competitive, tough conference. You saw it tonight. There's no quitting any team you play. Every team's well coached and they got great players. So to go undefeated through it 2 seasons in a row is something that I think I won't really soak in and realize what an accomplishment it is until maybe I'm done coaching this game, because you're always on to the next one. But it's a big deal, and I'm proud of our kids and proud of our coaches, and our community should be too.
Your quarterback Malloy, big part of all those wins, especially tonight. 6 touchdowns, 5 in the first half. You have a playmaker like that. How many more options does it give you as a play caller and as a staff in general?
Yeah, he's one of the best quarterbacks in Ohio. I really believe that, and he's gotten better and better every game. He's got weapons around him, so you know, we just try to put him in positions to make plays, and he did that tonight. Hopefully he'll continue doing it again our next season.
Now that Titans offense, it's not a bad offense by any means. Trevor Baczynski, their running game's solid, but you guys shut that down for the first half almost entirely. What was your game plan coming in to shut that down and take the lead and take it over early?
Well, not only is it not a bad offense, it's a really good offense. I don't think people quite understand that. We knew coming in. I mean, we watched the tapes, and they're well coached on offense, and they do a great job. They got talent everywhere. So, yeah, to only be at 14 at halftime was a good thing. I knew they'd play us all the way to the end, and they did that. But I was proud of our defense. We got enough stops to win this football game.
So Avon 10-0 on the season and headed into the playoffs. They will be the top seed in Division II Region 6. Let's take a look at the scoreboard here for Week 10 as we wrap things up here in the regular season. You see Avon 63-35 over Berea-Midpark. Wadsworth 49-35. They're undefeated. Barberton 48-14. That's an impressive one. They're undefeated. Stow 28-6. They are trying to move in and get out of one of those 7-8 spots, trying to move up to 4, 5, or 6 in Division I, Region 1. Stow will be in the playoffs. Strongsville, a 41-0 win over Brecksville. Manchester and Jim France sets the all-time wins record. He now has 382 career wins, OHSAA. Glenville punches their playoff ticket. They shut out Rhodes, 47-0. Medina, a 10-point winner over Solon. Bay, the first ever 10-0 season for the Rockets as they shut out Valley Forge. And East Lake North, 28-7 over Chardon. Olmsted Falls, no problem at all. And, you know, that was my takeaway. East Lake North with an alum, Sean Dodds, as their head coach. The first ever playoff appearance in school history. So congratulations to them.
Yeah, and I apologize. You probably caught me with my mouth open. There was a score that I saw there.
2-0?
Yeah, the Lake Erie game there. Yeah, congratulations to East Lake North. I can't wait to kind of start putting this piece together for the playoff preview stuff. But East Lake North and the teams coming from the Western Reserve Conference, they were making some noise against each other, and they're going to get a chance to do an opportunity to do that in the postseason as well.
Yeah, and I think people are going to be dancing in the streets Wolf Road tonight, pretty sure. Not only did Bay win and solidify the first undefeated season, the best season in school history, but Toledo Central Catholic lost, Padua lost, and Bay came into the night number 3 in Division III, Region 10, and I don't know the math because I'm not good enough with the math, but Bay is going to have a chance to be maybe 2. I mean, that's not bad for them.
Well, no, never bad to move up. Never bad. You always want to be the highest seed you can be.
That's exactly right.
And it won't, all the Saturday games have to be factored in, and you can be sure Toledo Central Catholic played a couple of teams that will play on Saturday as well. Guys, this is this is it, our last Friday night huddle of the season as we get ready for the playoffs. So it's been an interesting season of watching teams progress as we've gone on through the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of memorable moments, and I just can't wait for the playoffs to kind of get started here. There's some projections that I made earlier in the year, and I can't wait to see how these kind of play out now, just to see, where they end up in the stretch here. But, some great memorable moments and also some great plays as well. And like I said, you can vote on Saturday for those as well.
Yep. So Saturday, going until Thursday at noon, head to cleveland.com and vote on those top 15 plays, and we'll see which one wins it. The playoffs start on Spectrum Sports next Friday night at 7:30. But we want to remind you, Sunday at 3 o'clock, they will have a playoff pairing show when all of the pairings become official. They'll take a look at all of the 28 regions and break it down. For Nate Cline and Chris Fedor of cleveland.com, I'm Dave Bacon. We've enjoyed having you here on Friday Night Huddle. Remember, the playoffs start Friday, 7:30 kickoff. All playoff games this year are Friday nights. We'll see you out at the playoff games. Have a great night.
The High School Sports Insider is brought to you by Cuyahoga Community College, where futures begin. By the Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. By Spectrum Sports. By Dominion East Ohio. Dominion, it all starts here. And by Classic Teleproductions.
As we close out October, we're handing out state championship hardware all across the state, and the football playoffs are upon us. A great time to spotlight some of the best high school sports stories from all across Ohio. Thanks for joining this edition of the High School Sports Insider. Along with Bill Castrovince, I'm Dave Bacon.
In honor of Halloween, we have a superhero who dresses up like a field hockey star. Plus, we've got the buzz about some talented bees, we got some Mustangs on the pitch, and we'll see the leader of the Ohio State defense when he was in high school.
We begin tonight by trying to do something few defenses have been able to do all season. We want to catch up with Stow quarterback Corian Rice. The Bulldogs graduated just about all of the starters from last year's team that went to the regional finals. With Rice leading the way, Stow is back in the Division I Region I playoffs and hoping to make another deep playoff run. Rice has been outstanding in his first year as a starter at quarterback. We salute Corian Rice, the Spectrum Sports Game Breaker.
Opponents and fans have a sense of anticipation every time Stow quarterback Corian Rice has the ball. There's a sense that a big play can happen every time he touches it.
Absolutely. He brings a complete different dynamic to what we do offensively, and as an extra guy in the backfield now, people have to worry about him. They have to account for him. So, in the years past when we had drop-back quarterbacks like Kyle Van Treese, he was a great quarterback for us, but he didn't add that extra element that Corian does. So, I think it puts a lot of pressure on defenses to prepare for us.
So if someone's in my face, I gotta take off. It's a scary thing when a 300-pound lineman coming at you. So I actually try to roll out and get my receivers open. I'm just going after what my coach says. He puts me in position to make plays, and I just do what I'm told. So if I have to run, I'll run. If I have to throw, I'll make a play.
Rice is the point guard on the basketball team as well, which explains his ability to step into a leadership role. Corian took a year off from football. When he returned, he switched from receiver to quarterback.
I actually like quarterback because, get the ball in your hands every play, you get to make plays. But I like receiver too because, I started off as a receiver when I was younger. So it's a big adjustment, and Coach Porter helped me out and we got everything right. So I just did what I was told.
He's tremendous. He's pretty much quiet by nature, but he's one of the toughest competitors I think that we have or that I've seen. And, we've been down 3 times this year in wins, and a lot of coming back from those wins was because of Corian's persistence and resiliency and some of the leadership skills that he possesses.
The point guard in Rice has come out. He's developed into a good dual-threat quarterback with a chance to surpass 1,000 yards rushing and 1,000 more yards passing. He's closing in on 30 combined touchdowns for the year, and Corian has developed his passing game quite a bit.
That didn't happen overnight. Corian put a lot of work in this past summer. He put a lot of work in two-a-days. Him and his quarterback coach, Martin Potter, they've developed a nice relationship with one another, and I think that counts when things get high or low. They can lean on one another, and I think it helps him in his temperament out there as a quarterback.
Actually, I want to get the receivers the ball more, actually, so everyone can get the feeling of getting scores and touchdowns. I just want to get everyone else involved instead of me.
While the football playoffs begin this week, the field hockey season is just about to wrap up. Shaker Heights finished second in the state last year, and the Raiders are making another run with senior Lori Mack leading the way. Mack is like a superhero, unless she's at the aquarium. Here's Lori Mack, our Cuyahoga Community College student athlete with a future. Cuyahoga Community College, where futures begin. There is no stopping Lori Mack. The Shaker Heights senior is like Supergirl, but her kryptonite is her fear of fish.
So she has a huge fear of fish, a big fear, and so we've kind of taken it to the next level. And the girls will all of a sudden show up with fish randomly, and she gets scared and starts to cry.
Yeah, I'm pretty afraid of fish. I'm turned into like a baby when I see them, so it's interesting.
We're all baffled by the whole thing, because Lori is a super tough girl, and so for her to be scared of something is pretty crazy.
Mack acquired her superpowers when she started playing field hockey in middle school.
It like pushes you to like new levels, like things you just wouldn't think you would be capable of, especially like on the running side. We run a lot.
With her super speed and super strength, Lori was named All-State last year and gave a verbal commitment to play at Michigan State.
I was like told to look at schools based on like what school you would like to go to, not sports related. And I knew I wanted to go to a big school. So like, it was just like the perfect fit.
Mack also plays like Supergirl on the softball diamond in the spring.
Her work ethic really makes her stand out from everyone else. She never gives up. She gives 110% every single second.
She's also a superhero in school with a 3.9 GPA. Despite her fish phobia, Lori Mack might as well be wearing a cape.
I've talked to teachers, I've talked to athletic department administration, and it's just the way she presents herself. She's a class act, she's hardworking, and she leads by example.
Just like knowing that if I do well, I can do the things I want to do. So like if I do well, I know I can go to practice and play. So, and I think it's just important in your life to just like work hard so you can accomplish what you want to do.
And despite all the fish stuff, Lori is the second Michigan State recruit from Shaker Heights. Kendall Anderson is currently a senior for the Spartans.
We're just getting things rolling on this week's show. Straight ahead, some bees who were proficient with kills and a group of Mustangs riding high on the pitch. The High School Sports Insider will be right back.
There is a place where dreams arise. Stars are born. And greatness is made. What you live for lives here. Spectrum Sports.
Before I decided to go back to Tri-C to become a nurse, I was a stay-at-home mom. Absolutely wanted to be a pediatric nurse. I love taking care of kids. If you're thinking about changing your career or changing your path, go to Cuyahoga Community College. I feel like I'm in a great place in my life. I have 3 great kids. I have a great job that I love. I could not have done it without Tri-C. My name's Diana Geary. I earned my nursing degree from Cuyahoga Community College.
Thanks for tuning in for this week's High School Sports Insider. 1 year ago, a group of girls from Brecksville shocked the volleyball world by winning the D1 championship. Now the Bees are back to defend their title with the same cast of characters. Their quest makes Brecksville Volleyball our team of the week. Brecksville had never celebrated a state volleyball championship until last year. and it still feels surreal.
I just watched the game back for like the first time, like on the TV. Like I watched it back and it was like so different, like being there obviously, and then just watching it I was like still excited like again.
It's so cool, like everyone talks about it, everyone asks you questions, everyone will come up to you and say like RTS, like Road to States, but like we actually did it, so it's so cool.
November 12th, 2016 was a historic day for the Bees. However, to the 2017 team, it's ancient history.
Coach Cline, the first day of Child, said, you know, some of you in this gym are state champions and some of you aren't. And we're not going to talk about states last year because that's last year. And
like last year was last year, but this is a totally different year and we're starting all over again. So we just need to play how we can play and maybe we can get up there again.
The Bees have a smaller roster than normal, but they do have 4 seniors who have a ton of game experience. And underclassmen are always welcome.
As soon as your freshman or JV practice is done, you can stay and practice with us. Because I mean, the only way Rob's gonna be able to see you and the only way that you're gonna be able to get better is practicing at the highest level that you possibly can.
Normally, what I've always done is just put freshmen in, throw them in the lion's den and let them play our best kids, and it's kind of a sink or swim. Let them see what it's like, and I think the novelty wears off.
For the first time ever, Brecksville is no longer the hunter, and the hunted have a new motto: respect all, fear none.
The only way to approach that is to make sure we respect the teams that are trying to beat us, but we should not fear them. We should not fear the fact that they're coming at us like full force, as hard as they can with their best players, trying to put balls down just like we are.
The Strongsville Lady Mustangs have one of the elite soccer programs in all Ohio. Seems like every year Strongsville is one of the top teams in the state. 2017, no different. Strongsville lost just once all season and played some of the best teams in the state. The Lady Mustangs were ranked 3rd in the state in Division I and earned the top seed in the very tough Medina District. We have an all-access look at Strongsville girls soccer as they prepare for what they hope is a deep tournament run.
Our history does drive us, and we remind the girls that all the time, that you know they have a responsibility not only to themselves and their families and the community, but they've got a responsibility to the girls that came before, because they're the ones that really built this into what it was.
Since I was little, I looked up to like my sister, Ashley Meyer. There's like hundreds of girls that have gone on to play college soccer and have gone on for the national team and stuff. So it's awesome like looking up for them and knowing that they came from the same program you came from.
Oh, it's the weirdest thing because I just look at the little girls and I see myself, because I know how I felt when I was little, and like looking up to all the players that have graduated so far. It's just weird because I know that I'm in their shoes now.
Well, it's awesome because you always grow up like going to the games and watching the older girls, and they're your role models, and now you're in that position. So I think it's really cool to like progress to that point.
And I mean, the pressure's on because you have such good freshmen and such good sophomores, underclassmen, and you just gotta show that you're still really good, and you gotta show that you're still working hard.
We come here, we do our stuff, we get what we need done, we keep focused for the 2 hours that we're here, a little more sometimes, and then everyone goes home and gets their homework done. Everyone on this team is a good student. I don't think we have any people that get in trouble at all, not that I know of at least.
I know that I have to try to be the best like inspiration for them that I can be, because when I was younger, that's how I looked up to the older kids. So when I look down to the younger kids, I make sure I'm that role model for them.
It's awesome to be able to play for such a great program and represent our city, and it's nice to know that there's little kids looking up to us, that we have to play for them and not just for ourselves. We're playing for everybody in the city.
We're very cognizant of reminding them of the stories of the older people that came through before and what their stories were, because they're important, and those stories help drive individuals and the whole group.
If you missed some of today's show or want to see past episodes, they're online and free. What a deal, I know. Head to citybeat-tv.com. That's citybeat-tv.com.
Still to come, we'll hit the road with this week's Shining Star. And our Insider Classic is now the leader of the Ohio State Buckeye defense. Stay tuned.
We cannot be bystanders.
We can stop to make sure someone is okay.
We can warn someone when their drink isn't safe.
and disrupt the situation.
We can.
Get someone a cab.
Or walk them home safely.
We can make campuses safer for our friends,
our roommates,
our classmates, our fellow human beings.
We cannot be bystanders.
We can. Intervene.
It's on us.
All of us.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education program has been recognizing students and teachers who shine both in and out of the classroom since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com and click on Supporting Education. Students in kindergarten through 12th grade are eligible to be academic all-stars. K through 12 teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible to be honored as the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education, where stars shine.
The high school sports and